Chapter 102. 200 miles north of Cloud Sky City was the Land of Chaos. The Land of Chaos spanned nearly 3,000 miles and was a neutral zone between the Tiando League and the Evil Ways. There were many neutral zones like this, but the Land of Chaos was one of the bigger ones. The Land of Chaos didn't belong to any faction. There were no laws and no one cared about killing or robbing. Everything depended on the weapons in their hands. Every day, there would be blood and innocent lives would be lost. In comparison, whether it was Cloud Sky City's territory or the Northwest Gene family's territory, it was peaceful and could be called a paradise. Therefore, warriors with low cultivations could only walk around the territories of famous sections. Although they had to pay taxes and were not very free, at least they didn't have to worry about their lives. The next afternoon, Yang Dingtian had already traveled 200 miles. This was a castle at the edge of Cloud Sky City in the northeast. Of course, this castle was much smaller than the Black Blood Castle, or even the Abyss Castle. It only had 200 warriors. As long as he walked out of this stone door, he would lose the protection of order and enter a barbaric environment where the strong preyed on the weak. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and galloped his horse towards the northeast. The reason why he chose to ride a horse instead of a flying beast was because flying beasts could only fly within Cloud Sky City's territory. Once they left the territory, they would be shot down immediately. At this moment, Yang Dingtian wore a human skin mask and turned into an ordinary youth with a hint of delicateness. Even his weapon was decorated, and the clothes he wore could be considered expensive. In addition, there were close to 10 great mystic martial masters and black blood cavalry experts. In the Land of Chaos, ordinary factions wouldn't dare to provoke them. After galloping for more than an hour, Yang Dingtian traveled another 100 miles. At this moment, the color of the ground had slowly turned from blood red to light red. This area was indeed a lawless zone. Along the way, Yang Dingtian saw at least a dozen fights. Nearly half of them resulted in deaths. In just a little over an hour, he saw more than a dozen people die. When passers-by saw it, they ignored it. This Land of Chaos was indeed lawless, dangerous, and chaotic. Of course, Yang Dingtian didn't meddle in other people's business. This was because it was very difficult to distinguish between right and wrong in these fights. Basically, both sides were not good people. Moreover, time was of the essence, and he did not have the time to care about it. There was a river in front of them. It was about 30 meters wide and there was a wooden bridge over it. Everyone who crosses the bridge will be charged 1 silver coin. If you have a mount, you will be charged an additional 2 coins. Dozens of fierce-looking muscular men stood at the head of the bridge, holding weapons in their hands as they passed through the crowd. Of course, they weren't the ones who built the bridge. They were just taking the opportunity to amass wealth. One of Yang Dingtian's bodyguards immediately drew his sword and wanted to kill this group of people. After all, with their current strength, killing these people would be a piece of cake. Yang Dingtian waved his hand to stop him. He then tossed a gold coin over. However, his eyes revealed a warning light. If the other party continued to cause trouble, Yang Dingtian wouldn't mind starting a massacre. As expected, those hooligans didn't dare to act rashly. Yang Dingtian led his 10 black blood cavalry brothers and charged across the bridge. However, what made him not know whether to laugh or cry was that after crossing the bridge, someone had set up a checkpoint at the end of the bridge. Everyone who crosses the bridge will be charged 1 silver coin. If you have a mount, you will be charged an additional 2 coins. The leader of the hooligans who set up the checkpoint at the end of the bridge waved the steel sword in his hand. However, this time, he was a wretched skinny youth. This was too arrogant. A short wooden bridge of 10 zhang actually wanted to charge 2 tolls. To be honest, such a wooden bridge could be built with more than 10 silver coins. Yang Dingtian frowned and tossed another gold coin over. 1 gold coin was equivalent to 100 silver coins. In fact, it was slightly more. The wretched youth's eyes suddenly lit up. He thought that he had encountered a big fat sheep that was afraid of trouble. Oh, I misspoke. The toll is 1 gold coin per person. If you have a mount, you will be charged an additional 2 gold coins. The wretched youth smiled treacherously. His eyes revealed a trace of ominous light. It was obvious that he was planning to murder for money. You are courting death. Yang Dingtian's eyes suddenly turned cold. He directly pulled out his sword and slashed down. You dare? I am a member of the crocodile gang. Before he could finish his words, blood splattered everywhere. The wretched youth's head was directly chopped off. The surrounding hooligans were instantly stunned. Without waiting for Yang Dingtian's order, the 10 experts of the Black Blood Cavalry directly divided into 2 groups and killed all the hooligans at the head of the bridge and the end of the bridge. After killing, Yang Dingtian led the 10 Black Blood Cavalry and quickly left. Of course, no one would care about it. After that, Yang Dingtian kept galloping on his horse. By the time the sky turned dark, he had already traveled more than 400 li. In the short 300 li, Yang Dingtian had already paid the toll 8 times. He had been extorted 4 times and was targeted by 4 or 5 groups of people who wanted to kill him for money. Therefore, even though Yang Dingtian was unwilling, he still killed 3 people. He finally understood that in the chaotic lands, unless one's martial arts were extremely high, it was impossible not to kill. If you didn't kill, you would be killed. From morning to night, they had traveled a total of 700 li. Although this speed was fast enough, it still wasn't enough. Therefore, they couldn't rest at night and still had to rush on. In front of them was a town called Black Wind Town. The town wasn't big. It had a small auction house, a few inns, a few restaurants, 2 or 3 carriage shops, and 2 brothels for warriors to eat and rest. Yang Dingtian wanted to rest for a short while, eat a meal, change horses, and rush on through the night. Entering a restaurant, it was already crowded with people. Yang Dingtian and his 10 brothers found a remote place to sit down. They ordered ordinary food and a few bottles of strong wine. Although they didn't taste good, at least they weren't poisonous. There were many people here, and many people spoke in various languages. Some were shouting loudly, some were drinking games. In short, the hall was noisy. Moreover, this group of people hadn't bathed for a long time. In short, the air was filled with an unpleasant stench. Have you heard? That trash from Cloud Sky City, Yang Dingtian. He's awesome. Suddenly, someone beside Yang Dingtian said loudly to his desk mate. That lunatic? The one who practiced the pig-slaying swordsmanship and is still an enlightener at the age of 20? Someone asked. Your news is outdated. He's not an enlightener anymore. He's now a mystic martial artist, that person said. Just 2 days ago, he fought with Cloud Sky City's Tang Li in public and won. Isn't that awesome? He's a salted fish that has turned over. At this time, a one-eyed man snorted. What do you know? Do you really think Yang Dingtian broke through to mystic martial artist by relying on his talent? Relying on normal means to break through more than 10 levels in 5 days? Dream on! Do you know what he used to break through? Instantly Yang Dingtian's ears perked up. The 10 brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry also perked up their ears. Some of them even put their hands on the weapons at their waists. He relied on an evil technique. He relied on absorbing a woman's mystic chi to break through, that one-eyed man said evilly. Instantly, Yang Dingtian was furious. He didn't expect the rumor to spread so quickly. In just a few days, it had already spread to the chaotic lands. Without a doubt, this was Qin Xiaobai's doing. This one-eyed man in front of him was one of the many people who received money to spread the rumor. Do you know which woman's mystic chi he absorbed? The one-eyed man asked. Who? Everyone's eyes widened. Madame Shimin. The one-eyed man said evilly. Instantly, everyone breathed heavily and said, Damn, this Madame Shimin was the #1 beauty in the Northwest continent. This Yang Dingtian is really lucky. Instantly, the Black Blood Cavalry brothers' eyes turned cold. They were about to draw their weapons and kill someone. Yang Dingtian stopped them with his gaze. There were many people spreading such rumors. He couldn't kill all of them. After 8 days, as long as he defeated Qin Xiaobai, the rumor would collapse and Madame Ximen's reputation would be restored. After that, Yang Dingtian focused on eating. He didn't care about these rumors. After all, they were all unbearable words. At this moment, the noisy dining hall suddenly became silent. Instantly, it became so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. Not only did everyone stop talking, they also stopped eating. Clang, clang, clang. Immediately after, there was the sound of bowls and chopsticks falling to the ground. It was as if someone was so shocked that they couldn't even hold the bowls and chopsticks in their hands. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but raise his head. He saw that everyone was looking in the same direction. Yang Dingtian followed their gazes. Instantly, all the hair on his body stood on end. All the pores on his body shrunk, and cold sweat burst out. The person who came in was a woman. She was wearing a veil and a tight black dress. From head to toe, only his eyes were exposed. Even his hands were covered in black gloves. This pair of eyes was captivating and extremely beautiful. Being looked at by this pair of eyes, it was as if one was going to lose their soul. Furthermore, her figure was filled with a devilish charm. It was like the undulating mountains and rivers. It completely explained the meaning of devilish curves. Just a pair of eyes was enough to make everyone in the dining hall lose their souls. They couldn't even hold the bowls and chopsticks in their hands. Only Yang Dingtian's heart was beating violently, and his body instantly turned cold. This woman was the demonic woman, Dugu Fengwu. The Dugu Fengwu who killed people like scything flax. The genius demonic woman of evil ways. The daughter of the great demonic king Dugu Xiao. He didn't expect that she would actually appear here. Yang Dingtian immediately lowered his head to eat and drink. He could only silently hope that he was wearing a mask and wouldn't be recognized by her. After all, she once said that the next time she met Yang Dingtian, she would tear him into pieces. Yang Dingtian didn't dare to not take the demonic woman's words seriously. When things didn't go as planned, Yang Dingtian didn't want her to notice him. However, this demonic woman actually noticed him. Dugu Fengwu's captivating eyes actually landed on Yang Dingtian's face. After that, she stared at Yang Dingtian's face. In an instant, Yang Dingtian felt as if he was going to suffocate. This demonic woman was someone who would kill without batting an eyelid. If she really recognized him, she would definitely slash him down with her sword. Motherfucker. Perhaps it was even more sinister, but it was all covered by the darkness, making it hard to see. But along the way, they basically didn't meet anyone. In the dark night, the sound of Yang Dingtian's horse hooves was particularly clear. Da-da-da. Suddenly, the sound of hooves came from behind Yang Dingtian. It was much faster than Yang Dingtian and the others. He couldn't help but turn around to take a look, and he was scared out of his wits. It was actually that demonic woman, Dugu Fengwu. She had actually caught up. Yang Dingtian instinctively reached for his artifact sword, but he quickly put it down. What was the point of drawing his sword in front of a demonic woman? Dugu Fengwu's speed was very fast, and she caught up to Yang Dingtian in the blink of an eye. Her soul-sucking eyes were staring at Yang Dingtian. Could she have recognized him? If that was the case, then he was truly in a dead end. But immediately after, the demonic woman, Dugu Fengwu, said something that made Yang Dingtian completely astonished. "Mister, quickly save me! There are people chasing after me, and they want to molest me." Dugu Fengwu's beautiful eyes were filled with panic as she pleaded to Yang Dingtian with a trembling voice. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but exclaim, "What kind of trick is this demonic woman playing?" Immediately after, he saw over a dozen men chasing after them frantically. The leader was that one-eyed man who spread rumors about Yang Dingtian. His remaining eye shot out an evil and fiery gaze. "Great beauty, don't run. Follow me, and I will definitely let you live a good life." At this moment, Dugu Fengwu was even more terrified as she pleaded to Yang Dingtian. "This big brother, I beg you. Save me, save me." Note: I am begging for a few monthly votes. Thank you, everyone. The one-eyed man pounced on the woman and stretched out his hand, wanting to tear her clothes apart. "Big brother, save me!" This woman immediately let out a hoarse cry for help. She looked at Yang Dingtian with eyes that were filled with pleading and despair. "Do it!" Yang Dingtian ordered and pulled out his sharp sword. It didn't matter if Dugu Fengwu was the demoness putting on an act, Yang Dingtian couldn't be bothered anymore. If the woman in front of him wasn't Dugu Fengwu and was sullied by this one-eyed man, then Yang Dingtian wouldn't be able to forgive himself for the rest of his life. That one-eyed man was shocked. His expression turned sinister as he said, "There really is a hero who isn't afraid of death when saving a beauty." Finishing his statement, he pulled out a ghost head saber and slashed at Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian's sword slashed down. Dang! That one-eyed man's ghost head saber suddenly broke into two and flew out. Yang Dingtian's sword was still wet as it slashed that one-eyed man into two halves. There was a miserable howl as fresh blood spurted out. In fact, this one-eyed man had the strength of a 5-star mystic martial artist, but he was still instantly killed by Yang Dingtian. At the same time, the remaining 10 Black Blood Cavalry brothers pulled out their sharp swords and rushed towards the remaining villains with lightning speed. In just a few seconds, the dozen or so villains were all killed, and not a single one escaped. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian dismounted from his horse and walked to that mysterious woman. He reached out his hand. Although this woman's face was still covered, her beautiful eyes were filled with lingering fear. Her entire body was trembling, and a rich woman's fragrance assaulted Jiang Yi's senses. This fragrance was exactly the same as that of the demoness Dugu Fengwu. Yang Dingtian's hair stood on end. Could Dugu Fengwu really be putting on an act? After that, Yang Dingtian looked at this woman on the ground with an extremely nervous expression. She reached out her small hand and grabbed onto Yang Dingtian's hand, but her beautiful eyes were still filled with concern. It was as though she was afraid that Yang Dingtian would also unleash his bestial nature. Yang Dingtian exerted a bit of strength and pulled her up from the ground. He then acted as though nothing had happened and said, "Young lady, everything is fine now. If there is nothing else, I will take my leave first. I still have to hurry on with my journey." After that, Yang Dingtian mounted his horse and was about to leave with his brothers. It didn't matter if she was Dugu Fengwu or not, the further away they were, the better. This demoness was truly too terrifying, and she was absolutely terrifying. That woman was slightly stunned at first, but when she saw that Yang Dingtian didn't seem to be molesting her, her beautiful eyes relaxed a little. She then spoke with an anxious voice. "Mister, it is not safe for me to travel alone at night. Can I follow you for a while? Can you send me to the next town? I will wait there for my companions to find me." Yang Dingtian's scalp instantly went numb. He really didn't want to agree. I beg you," that woman said with a trembling voice. "Otherwise, if a few more of these scoundrels come, I will really be in a life worse than death." Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, "All right, but make it clear. We will only send you to the next town." "All right, thank you, mister," that woman said. She then came to the front of her mount and stretched out her long legs, wanting to step on the saddle. However, she couldn't do such a simple action. She couldn't lift her legs up no matter how hard she tried. "Mister, you come and help me. My entire body is soft, and I can't get on the horse." Yang Dingtian went forward and clamped her small waist, carrying her onto the saddle. After that, Yang Dingtian carried her and continued on their journey, galloping towards the north. The distance to the next town seemed to be really far. Yang Dingtian ran for a total of 3 hours and over 200 miles, but he still didn't see the shadow of a town. After running for another 3 hours, the sky was already bright, but there was still no sign of a town. However, in these few hours, Yang Dingtian was completely sure that this woman wasn't Dugu Fengwu. Because whether it was her speech, temperament, or expression, she was just like a child who had never seen the world. Her words were filled with naivety and sorrow. She really was like a pure and innocent child. Perhaps her figure was the same, and her body fragrance was the same, but her temperament was completely different. You don't have any martial arts, so why do you dare to run around the chaotic lands alone? This is the most chaotic and dangerous place in the world, Yang Dingtian said. The woman was silent for a moment before saying, This is my first time out, and I don't know anything about the outside world. Originally, there were a dozen people following me to protect me, but last night, a dozen very powerful people suddenly intercepted them and started to kill them. My guards kept those enemies busy while I ran for my life, saying that they would catch up to me in a while. Thus, I rode my horse and ran as fast as I could. When I reached the town, I thought that I would be safe. But who knew that not long after I fell asleep, the inn's waiter suddenly ran to me and told me to run quickly. He said that a dozen bad guys were going to molest and defile me. Thus, I ran quickly. Then, this group of bad guys caught up to me. Then, I was saved by you. Then, the woman looked at Yang Dingtian and said seriously, Otherwise, even if I died, it would be a filthy death. After I die, I will also sink into the 18 layers of hell. You're welcome, Yang Dingtian said. Young master, there is a town ahead. Suddenly, one of the Black Blood Cavalry brothers in front said. Yang Dingtian raised his head and looked. Indeed, there was a town a few miles ahead. Miss, we will part ways in the town in a while. Find a safe place and wait for your companions to find you, Yang Dingtian said. That woman's beautiful eyes didn't have much joy. Instead, she seemed a little disappointed and nodded. Yang Dingtian hesitated for a moment and finally asked, Then, what is your name? That woman's beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of shyness as she said, You can call me Schwanger. Yang Dingtian originally wanted to ask her about her relationship with Dugufengwu, but he didn't. Because once he asked, it might bring about great danger in the future. At this moment, there was a small river in front. The river water was so clear that the bottom could be seen. That Schwanger cheered and ran over. Yang Dingtian knitted his brows slightly and followed after her. The situation here was complicated, and there might be danger at any moment. She was a weak woman who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken and couldn't go too far. The Black Blood Cavalry brothers were guarding the entrance firmly. After walking for over 100 meters, Yang Dingtian saw Schwanger's back view under a remote bridge. It seemed like being under the bridge gave her a sense of security. When he was over 10 meters away from her, Yang Dingtian stopped. In front, Schwanger was already squatting by the river and seemed to be washing her face and drinking water. She took off her veil first, then took off a mask. It was this mask that made Yang Dingtian's body tremble. Dugufengwu also had such a mask. But immediately after, he noticed that this mask was different from Dugufengwu's. This was a silver mask, while Dugufengwu's mask was golden. After taking off the mask, Schwanger stared at the water surface as though she was looking at her own reflection. She didn't move for a long time and seemed to be completely intoxicated by her own beauty. Yang Dingtian was curious if her face was exactly the same as Dugufengwu's. But she should be intoxicated. Everyone in the world would be intoxicated by such a breathtaking beauty. After staring at herself in the water for a moment, Schwanger started to lay down and used her small mouth to touch the river water. Suddenly, Schwanger asked, Mister, what do you think I look like? Yang Dingtian replied, You should be the most beautiful woman in the world. Schwanger continued, You saved my life and talked to me so much along the way. Do you know? You are the person who has talked to me the most in my life. Now, do you want to see my face and see how I look like? Yes. Yang Dingtian wanted to see if Schwanger's face was exactly the same as Dugufengwu's. Schwanger stayed silent for a moment before she slowly turned around and openly revealed her face. When Yang Dingtian saw this face, his body instantly shivered, and his eyes revealed a look of disbelief and astonishment. It wasn't because she was too beautiful, or because she looked the same as Dugufengwu. On the contrary, it was a very strange and even frightening face. This face had an extremely perfect outline. Be it the eyes, nose, mouth, or the entire shape of the face, they were all perfect. Furthermore, it was exactly the same as Dugufengwu's. However, the skin on her face was filled with scales. The scales were fine and blue with a tinge of purple. Her entire face was covered with scales, all the way to her neck. In short, everywhere that could be seen was covered with scales. These scales looked like the scales of a mermaid, but they also looked like the scales of a snake. Seeing Yang Dingtian's astonished expression, Shuang'er smiled bitterly and said, "Indeed, this is the same expression. Everyone has this expression when they see me. My father, my maidservant, my servant. Everyone looks as though they have seen a ghost when they see me." Instantly, Shuang'er let out a despairing laugh and mocked. "Actually, Mr. didn't have to save me just now. That scoundrel only had to tear open my clothes and see my appearance. He would definitely be scared out of his wits and run as far as he could. He would never want to touch me again. Because every inch of my body is covered with these scales. I knew it. Everyone is afraid of me and hates me. Everyone calls me a hag." As she spoke, Shuang'er's tears fell. Her face and her beautiful eyes were filled with despair. "Do you know why I never went out before? Because I was afraid that others would look at me as if they had seen a ghost. Not only did I frighten the people at home, I also frightened the people outside," Shuang'er said sadly. At this moment, Yang Dingtian's heart was instantly filled with boundless sympathy and pity. He fixed his gaze on her face and spoke with a gentle voice. "Young lady Shuang'er, my astonished gaze earlier wasn't because I was frightened by you. It was because I felt that the heavens were too unfair to you. He gave you the most beautiful eyes, the most moving figure, and the most beautiful voice. But he used a layer of scales to cover your most moving beauty. You don't need to comfort me. You were just frightened by me," Shuang'er said sadly. "No, your appearance may scare others, but it won't scare me," Yang Dingtian said. "To tell you the truth, you may not believe it. With your appearance, I even feel that there is a different kind of taste. I feel that it is very, very tempting." Yang Dingtian didn't lie. He really felt that way. He really didn't feel that it was scary. Instead, there was a special kind of taste. "But my whole body is covered with scales like this," Shuang'er said, and then directly took off her cloak and skirt. Sure enough, her whole body was covered with dense scales. It looked like a snake's, but also not. It seemed to be purple, but also seemed to be green. Yang Dingtian thought of a movie on Earth. X-Men. The shape-shifting woman in the movie was also covered with scales. The Shuang'er in front of him and the shape-shifting woman were really similar. However, compared to the shape-shifting woman, whether it was the figure, the outline of the face, or the pair of eyes, Shuang'er was much more beautiful and moving. Yang Dingtian didn't know how many hardcore movies he had seen on Earth, so when he saw the shape-shifting woman, he didn't feel very scared. Instead, he felt that it was quite sexy. Therefore, the moment he saw her, Yang Dingtian's eyes suddenly lit up. He was just curious, not disgusted. Seeing Yang Dingtian's gaze, Shuang'er suddenly showed a trace of surprise, and her beautiful eyes suddenly lit up. "Are you really not afraid of me? Are you disgusted by my appearance?" Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "Really? But Miss Shuang'er, you should wear it properly. You are too moving." Suddenly, Shuang'er recovered her shyness. Her beautiful eyes looked at Yang Dingtian with a different kind of taste. She said softly, "You are the first person who is not afraid of me. I am really happy." Yang Dingtian smiled slightly and didn't say anything. "I have never left home before. Do you know why I came out this time?" Shuang'er said, and then put on her dress and cloak, covering her whole body tightly. Yang Dingtian shook his head. "Because I'm about to die. I won't be able to live for long. I don't want to die without seeing the outside world," Shuang'er said softly. "Being able to see you this time is already enough for me." Yang Dingtian was stunned and said in surprise, "Why?" "Because there is a kind of poison in my body that no one can cure," Shuang'er said. "However, I am not afraid of death at all. Instead, I feel that it is a kind of relief. Because I have no xian qi, and I look so strange. I'd rather be dead than alive." "You are talking nonsense," Yang Dingtian said loudly. "You have a lot of meaning in life. You can draw, you can sing, You can write stories, you can sculpt. Who knows how many things you can do? Sing? Schwanger's beautiful eyes lit up. You can sing? Yang Dingtian was stunned, and then nodded. Then sing for me. Just once, okay? Schwanger said. Okay. Yang Dingtian hesitated a little, and then nodded. Singing was a very awkward and pretentious act, but he couldn't refuse at this time. Schwanger ran to Yang Dingtian's side and sat on the grass. Yang Dingtian dismounted and also sat on the grass. The horse casually squatted down and leisurely ate the grass. Yang Dingtian thought for a while, looked at the pitiful girl who was about to die, and sang, pinching a smiling flower, thinking about the changes in the world in the end. What does it matter if you win or lose? The sun and the moon grow and fade. Wealth and nobility cannot last long. This morning's appearance is older than last night. The space between the eyebrows is wider. Looking at the scenery of the world. Who doesn't taste sorrow and joy? The sea can't be finished, he sang. Two forgetting each other. From Earth. He felt that this song was very beautiful, and his singing was not bad. Although this was a song sung by a woman. But because of the feelings in his heart, Yang Dingtian sang really well at this time, and it was very pleasant to listen to. Schwanger listened very carefully, liked it very much, and was even a little fascinated. Of course, Yang Dingtian didn't sing so well. She was fascinated that someone was singing for her. As Yang Dingtian sang, Schwanger sat next to him, quietly listening. Then she slightly tilted her head and gently leaned on Yang Dingtian's shoulder. The posture was somewhat intimate, but it was very natural, without the slightest hint of awkwardness. The space between the eyebrows is wider. Looking at the scenery of the world. Who doesn't taste sorrow and joy? The sea can't be finished. Gratitude and grudges are hard to calculate. Yesterday should not be forgotten. Today the waves surge. The people are insignificant. The birds of youth fly away. Even if the ancient wind roams in the wind. Yang Dingtian was still singing, and the more he sang, the better he got. Schwanger listened very seriously, very intoxicated. On the other side of the river, the sound of hurried horse hooves could be heard. Some gloomy experts wearing black cloaks, riding huge war horses, were like a gust of wind, stepping on the river, swift and fierce. The leader of the group was a tall woman with a cold gaze. These some people all had very high cultivations, and each of them had a bloodthirsty aura, and each of them had a chilling gaze. A blood-red bat was embroidered on each of their cloaks. Yang Dingtian was still singing, as if he didn't see this group of people coming. The sea can't be finished. Gratitude and grudges are hard to calculate. Yesterday should not be forgotten. Today. These some people arrived in front of him in the blink of an eye, and at this time, Yang Dingtian had officially finished singing. The gloomy woman in the lead suddenly reached out, grabbed Schwanger's arm, and directly lifted her onto the horse in front of her. Then, she suddenly pulled out a sinister sword, and was about to chop off Yang Dingtian's head. Not far away, some Black Blood cavalry brothers were crazily rushing over. "Black Phoenix, if you kill him, I will die," Schwanger said quietly. The woman called Black Phoenix coldly stared at Yang Dingtian for a while, then suddenly turned her horse around and galloped away. Suddenly, the some black-cloaked experts left on the river like the wind. "Brother, what's your name?" Suddenly, Schwanger, who was being taken away, shouted loudly. "Yen Natian!" Yang Dingtian shouted. "I will remember you until I die," Schwanger shouted. "Don't die, live well," Yang Dingtian shouted. Then, the dozen black-cloaked knights disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. After arriving at the town, Yang Dingtian changed horses, and then madly rushed without rest, covering more than 1,000 miles in a day. 30 hours later, he arrived at the edge of the Netherworld swamp. "All of you, wait here for my return," Yang Dingtian said to the 10 Black Blood cavalry brothers. "Yes," the 10 Black Blood cavalry brothers replied in unison. This was something Yang Dingtian had decided long ago, because there were no people or demonic beasts in the Netherworld swamp. As for Poison Hand's devil, it was useless to bring the Black Blood cavalry brothers in. Yang Dingtian dismounted. In front of him was the Netherworld swamp, 1,000 miles of no man's land. There was a clear boundary between the Netherworld swamp and the land. On this side was the hard and flat land, and on the other side was the gloomy and putrid rotten water swamp. At a glance, it was as if there were two different worlds. The entire swamp was shrouded in a gloomy fog and a putrid smell. Yang Dingtian swallowed an elixir, took a deep breath, and stepped into the swamp. He was very careful, because there were quagmires everywhere. However, Yang Dingtian had already swallowed a special elixir and a water-repelling pearl, so there was no danger. He only needed to be careful. 1 hour. 2 hours. 3 hours. 5 hours. Yang Dingtian carefully walked into the depths of the swamp. The whole world was deathly silent, and only the sound of Yang Dingtian stepping into the mud could be heard. It was as if Yang Dingtian was the only person in the whole world. This kind of loneliness, after a long time, would definitely drive one crazy. At this time, the sky was already dark. However, the visibility was better than during the day, because the water above the quagmires emitted a faint green light. Although it was very disgusting, it did bring some light. Moreover, there were green will-o'-the-wisps on the water's surface. Yang Dingtian used these green lights and will-o'-the-wisps to continue deeper. 2 hours later, Yang Dingtian arrived at the deepest part of the netherworld swamp. Immediately, Yang Dingtian smelled a nauseating smell. It was the smell of death and evil, a smell that made one tremble in fear. Yang Dingtian knew. He was about to arrive at Poison Hand's Devil's Cave. The results of the monthly votes made my mood extremely low today, but so what, I still have to work harder to write. Chapter 105. Actually, I'm already powerless to shout these words. He had arrived at Poison Hand's Devil's Cave. In front of him was an incomparably large quagmire. The reason Yang Dingtian recognized this as Poison Hand's Devil's Cave was because of the countless corpses floating above it. Most of them were human corpses, and occasionally demon beast corpses. Every single one of them had rotted away, giving off a nauseating stench. The blood on the corpses mixed with the muddy water, turning them a sickly green. It was obvious that Poison Hand's devil hadn't forgotten his evil research even after living in seclusion in the swamp. As for these corpses, who knew how many people died in the bedlam every day? Poison Hand's devil could use money, medicine, or even poison to trade for them. However, this Poison Hand's devil, Ouyangluan, was indeed an incomparably evil person. However, apart from the corpses floating above the huge cave, the rest was disgusting mud. Ouyangluan's figure was nowhere to be seen. He should have been living under the mud for a long time. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian arrived in front of the huge cave and slowly said, "Dong Feng Minmi's successor pays respect to Senior Devil Corpse." Suddenly, the entire swamp fell into silence. There was no response. And in front of Yang Dingtian was just an ordinary quagmire. It didn't look like a place of seclusion at all. It was as if the transaction just now was just a dream. Yang Dingtian said again, "Dong Feng Minmi's successor pays respect to Senior Devil Corpse. I don't care who Dong Feng Minmi is. Since you've entered my territory, you can die. It just so happens that my experiment is still lacking a heart and a kidney," Poison Hand's devil said slowly. Immediately after, there was a loud noise. A giant rushed out of the pool, emitting a rotten stench, and rushed towards Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian almost vomited when he saw the giant's appearance. Yang Dingtian had never seen such a disgusting creature. This giant couldn't be called a human at all. It was just a walking corpse. The giant's legs were pieced together from 3 or 4 people's broken legs. The giant's body was also pieced together from 3 or 4 people's bodies. The giant only had one head, but it had been enlarged by the bubbles. There were wounds all over the giant's body. Disgusting pus was flowing everywhere. There was even a huge wound on its stomach. Part of its intestines had spilled out from the wound. It was so green that it was almost rotten. This was not a person at all, but an evil creature that was pieced together from many corpses. What was even more disgusting was that the giant had 3 hands, one on each of its shoulders, and one on its back. 3 hands, each holding a different weapon. There was a huge hammer, a sharp iron chain, and a huge kitchen knife. Tear people apart! Following Poison Hand's devil's order, the giant corpse fiercely rushed forward and attacked Yang Dingtian with the weapons in its 3 hands. It completely ignored the fact that Yang Dingtian was Dong Fang Mimi's successor, and that he was indebted to Dong Fang Mimi for saving his life. Before the fight even started, Yang Dingtian almost fainted from the stench. He held his breath, drew his weapon, and met the giant corpse's hammer. The hammer weighed several hundred kilograms. When it smashed down, it was as if Mount Tai was pressing down. It whistled through the air, wanting to smash Yang Dingtian into pieces. Bang! Yang Dingtian's ice blade blocked the giant corpse's hammer. Suddenly, an incomparably huge force was transmitted. Yang Dingtian instantly lost all feeling in his hands. His entire body felt like it was being crushed by a tank. He felt the tendons in his arms rupture inch by inch. Blood spurted out as his body flew dozens of meters away. The giant's moves were not profound, nor was it agile. However, its strength was astonishing. It was far, far beyond Yang Dingtian's imagination. My giant corpse's hammer has the force of 10,000 kilograms. You actually dared to block it with your mere body. You're courting death. Poison Hand's devil sneered. After spitting out another mouthful of blood, Yang Dingtian's mind cleared a little and he sat up. You're actually not dead? You actually survived my giant corpse's hammer? Poison Hand's devil exclaimed. If it was an ordinary person, they would have already died. However, Yang Dingtian had the 9 yang profound veins. Moreover, Dong Fang Minmi had cleansed his meridians to the 3rd layer. He had a terrifying resistance and recovery ability. After standing up again, Yang Dingtian took a medicinal pill. The pain in his body gradually subsided. The tearing pain seemed to be dispelled inch by a cool breeze. As expected of a Tier 5 medicinal pill brewed by Ningning. Raising the strange blade in his hand and pointing it at the giant corpse, Yang Dingtian already knew that although the giant corpse had boundless strength, it was not agile. Moreover, its moves were rigid. It was not difficult to kill it, but he could not let it hit him head-on. Kill! Yang Dingtian shouted. His body shot out like lightning, and the strange blade in his hand pierced towards the giant corpse's chest. The 4th move of the pig-slaying swordsmanship was ruthless and decisive. However, the giant corpse's stomach was not cut open. Yang Dingtian's strange blade seemed to have stabbed into a wall, unable to move an inch. Yang Dingtian quickly retreated and looked at the giant corpse in front of him in horror. The monster's skin seemed to have been refined by some kind of medicine. It was actually invulnerable, like a real iron bastion. As a result, the giant corpse's fighting strength was astonishing. Although it was slow and not agile, it was completely invulnerable. What if I use profound qi? Yang Dingtian thought to himself. Immediately after, he shot out like lightning and pierced the giant corpse's chest again. This time, he instantly released all of his profound qi. However, the giant corpse was still unscathed. The previous sword had left a shallow wound, but this time, nothing was left. Soon, Yang Dingtian knew the reason. Profound qi mainly attacked the enemy's profound veins and internal organs. This giant corpse was originally an inanimate object. It had no profound veins, so profound qi was naturally useless against it. Ha! This giant corpse puppet is the result of my lifetime of research. You want to hurt it? Dream on! Poison Hand's devil sneered. Yang Dingtian held the modified strange blade and coldly looked at the giant corpse in front of him. Kill him! Following Poison Hand's devil's order, the giant corpse ferociously rushed forward again. The iron chain in its hand fiercely coiled around Yang Dingtian's neck. Yang Dingtian sneered. Ningning and Shimin Lai were afraid that his identity would be exposed, so they modified his strange blade and wrapped it with a layer of black iron. Now, in order to deal with the giant monster in front of him, he couldn't care less about hiding it. He slammed the strange blade on the ground and shook his arm. Immediately, the incomparably sharp night owl strange blade cut through the outer layer of black iron, revealing the terrifying twisted true blade. Bang! The giant corpse's sharp iron chain suddenly whipped towards Yang Dingtian's head and was about to wrap around his neck. Yang Dingtian slashed with the strange blade in his hand. Bang! Immediately, the iron chain in the giant corpse's hand was cut through like tofu. Hiss! Immediately after, Yang Dingtian fiercely stabbed his sword into the giant corpse's chest. With an ear-piercing sound like tearing leather, the 4-foot-long strange blade completely pierced into the giant corpse's chest. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian fiercely pulled out the giant blade and quickly retreated a dozen meters, waiting for the giant corpse to fall. A disgusting green liquid flowed out from the chest wound, but the giant corpse didn't seem to feel it. It only looked down in a daze. Not only did it not fall, it didn't even seem to be in pain. Yang Dingtian was stunned. It didn't die even after being stabbed in the heart? However, Yang Dingtian soon understood. This giant corpse was an inanimate object. It might not even have a heart, so how could it die after being stabbed in the chest? How is this possible? What kind of sword is that? How could it pierce through my giant corpse puppet? My puppet has been soaked in medicine for 49 days. It's several times harder than steel. How could your sword pierce through it? Poison Hand's devil suddenly let out a shocked voice. Hard? Harder than a top-grade bloody black gold sword? One against the night owl's claws? One against profound ice-cold iron? Yang Dingtian sneered inwardly. Then, he continued to rush forward, the strange blade in his hand attacking the giant corpse like lightning. Swish, swish, swish. More than a dozen sword strikes left a dozen wounds on the giant corpse's body. Each wound was more than a foot long, and the giant corpse's body was instantly riddled with holes. However, the monster was unscathed and continued to attack Yang Dingtian crazily. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian changed his attack pattern. He no longer attacked the monster's body, but its limbs instead. Swish, 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 swish. More than a dozen sword strikes in succession. Yang Dingtian directly cut off the giant corpse's 2 astonishing legs into more than a dozen pieces. The 5-meter-tall giant seemed to have instantly shrunk. However, the giant corpse still didn't feel any pain. Its 3 arms were still crazily attacking. However, this giant corpse only had 2 trump cards, infinite strength and invulnerability. Once the invulnerability was broken, its slow movements would be nothing more than a punching bag. After cutting off its legs, Yang Dingtian quickly cut off its terrifying arms. Suddenly, the giant corpse puppet turned into a terrifyingly huge human stick. However, it still didn't feel any pain. Its face was still ferocious, and it opened its mouth to crazily bite Yang Dingtian. The whole scene was disgusting and shocking, making people shudder. Still not dead? I'll cut off your head and see if you die or not, Yang Dingtian said coldly. Then, he fiercely cut off the giant corpse's disgusting head. The bucket-sized head suddenly rolled to the ground, and the giant corpse's body finally crashed to the ground. However, after the giant corpse's hideous and terrifying head rolled to the ground, it still crazily opened its mouth to bite and let out disgusting roars. Yang Dingtian was shocked. After cutting off the head, it still didn't die. I'm going to dig open your brain and see what's inside. I'm going to chop your head into pieces and see if you're going to die or not, Yang Dingtian said coldly. Then, he waved his strange blade and aimed it at the giant corpse's head. Stop, stop. Have mercy. Poison Hand's devil shouted in horror. Yang Dingtian suspended the strange blade above the giant corpse's head and coldly said, Why should I have mercy? You don't remember my master saving your life, so why should I care? The body of this giant corpse puppet can be rebuilt, but the head is troublesome. It's my life's work. If you destroy it, I'll have nothing left. Poison Hand's devil said hoarsely. Oh? Yang Dingtian was delighted. He was originally worried that he wouldn't have anything to threaten Poison Hand's devil. Now that the giant corpse's head was his lifeblood, it could be used as a threat. If you don't want me to destroy this head, you just have to answer a few questions, Yang Dingtian directly said. Go ahead, Poison Hand's devil said. Back then, you successfully entered the blood pool to cultivate How did you do it? Yang Dingtian asked. Why are you asking this? Suddenly, Poison Hand's devil's voice became high-pitched and sharp, as if he had been electrocuted. His voice was filled with fear and anger. Answer my questions, or I'll destroy your life's success. Yang Dingtian coldly said as the strange blade pierced an inch into the giant corpse's head. Stop, stop! Poison Hand's devil hurriedly said. Then Poison Hand's devil fell into silence. After a few minutes, he slowly said, Because 20 years ago, I accidentally saved Duge Zhao's life. At that time, he was only the young master of the Temple of Blood. He offended someone from the Sea of Netherworld and was poisoned with the world's most unique poison. Although he killed the people from the Sea of Nether, he couldn't do anything about the poison in his body, so he came to me. I didn't know who he was, and I didn't want to save him. However, the poison from the Sea of Nether was too strange. I couldn't help it, so I cured him. Poison Hand's devil paused for a moment before continuing. After curing him, I planned to kill him with poison. However, he told me that he was the young master of the Temple of Blood. Because I saved his life, he agreed to a condition of mine. When I said that I wanted to enter the blood pool to cultivate, he said that he could, but he would have to wait until he became the master of the Temple of Blood a few years later. Sure enough, a few years later, he became the master of the Temple of Blood, and I successfully entered the blood pool to cultivate once. Therefore, I became the first outsider to cultivate in the blood pool. Yang Dingtian immediately took a deep breath. So that's how it was. Because I saved Duge Zhao's life, I successfully entered the blood pool to cultivate once. This condition was too difficult. Now that Duge Zhao was a martial grandmaster expert, one of the top 5 or even top 3 experts in the world, who could save him? Then how did you end up like this? How did you offend Duge Zhao? Why did he torture you like this? Yang Dingtian asked. Once these words were spoken, Poison Hand's devil's body instantly trembled as though he was having a nightmare. I didn't do anything. After coming out of the blood pool, I successfully broke through 2 ranks. Then, less than half a month later, Duge Zhao caught me, dug out my flesh, and poured lava in. He cut open my blood vessels and poured snake blood in, torturing me until I was neither human nor ghost. Poison Hand's devil shrieked while trembling. I didn't do anything. He said that he promised me to enter the blood pool to cultivate, and he did it. However, he didn't promise not to torture me. Just because I entered the blood pool to cultivate once, he tortured me until I wished I was dead. Back then, I said that I wanted to cultivate in the blood pool out of curiosity. If I knew the outcome would be like this, I wouldn't go in even if you asked me to do it 10 or 100 times. Hearing Poison Hand's devil's words, Yang Dingtian instantly shuddered. This great demon was truly even more perverted and vicious than his daughter, Duge Fengwu. An outsider had to pay such a huge price just to cultivate in the blood pool once. Even if that Yang Dingtian was a man, he wouldn't be willing to pay such a heavy price. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and asked, Then, let me ask you the second question. Do you have a myriad poison's devil snake? Sister Ningning's deep-sea mystic poison had been spreading towards her Qi-Si, and it couldn't be delayed any longer. Only the myriad poison's devil snake could suck the poison out. Therefore, this matter might be even more important. When Poison Hand's devil heard the second question, he immediately retracted all his miserable shrieks and sneered. Myriad poison's devil snake. No one within 10,000 miles has it, except for me. Of course I have it. How can I not have it? Senior, I want this myriad poison's devil snake. Yang Dingtian asked. In your dreams. Poison Hand's devil coldly scolded. If you want to take something from me, Poison Hand's devil, then you must be dreaming. Following that, Poison Hand's devil coldly said, Don't try to use the giant corpse's head to threaten me. Otherwise, I will let you die here. Don't doubt if I have the ability to do so. Yang Dingtian didn't doubt that Poison Hand's devil snake had the ability to do so. Yang Dingtian faintly smiled and said, Of course, I won't take your item for free. Will I use something even more precious to exchange for it? Poison Hand's devil immediately snorted and sneered. No matter how precious the item is, it is nothing but dog fart in front of me. If you want to obtain my myriad poisons, devil snake, stop dreaming. Yang Dingtian said. I heard that Senior Devil Corpse is #1 in the poison Tao, and that there is no poison in this world that you can't detoxify. Is there such a thing? Of course. Poison Hand's devil proudly said. But right now, I have the world's most unique poison. Not to mention being unable to detoxify it. Senior has never even seen it before. Yang Dingtian laughed. Impossible. Poison Hand's devil sternly said, as if he had been greatly humiliated. He loudly said, Impossible. Even if the sun rises in the west and the mountains and rivers reverse, it is still impossible. How old are you? How could you have a poison that I can't detoxify? And you still say that I have never seen this poison? That is the greatest lie in this world. Then let us officially compete. If Senior can detoxify the poison in my hand, then I will lose and accept Senior's punishment. Yang Dingtian smiled and said, If Senior can't detoxify it, then it will be considered my victory, and your myriad poisons devil snake will be mine. At this time, Yang Dingtian had 2 unique poisons in his body. One was the deep-sea profound poison, and the other was his blood that had been infected by soul-devouring profound qi. These 2 poisons were undefeatable in this world. Yang Dingtian naturally didn't believe that Poison Hand's devil could detoxify them. He didn't even believe that he had seen them before. All right, it's a deal. Poison Hand's devil sneered. His voice was filled with absolute confidence. He would rather die than believe that Yang Dingtian would be able to take out a strange poison that he couldn't detoxify. Yang Dingtian was so young and had such a low cultivation. If he wanted to take out a strange poison in the world, it would be a fool's dream. Then, Poison Hand's devil said in disdain, Now throw me that so-called unique poison of yours. Yang Dingtian took out a bottle containing Shimen Wuya's blood that had been infected by Zhu Qingzhu's soul-devouring profound qi. How can I give you this bottle? Yang Dingtian asked. Just throw it into the quagmire. Poison Hand's devil impatiently said. Suddenly, there seemed to be an invisible hand in the quagmire that directly sucked the porcelain bottle down. Senior, be careful. Don't touch the poison in the bottle. Yang Dingtian said. Humph, there is no poison in this world that I can't touch. There is no poison in this world that I fear. Poison Hand's devil sneered with disdain. Eh? Before he could finish, his voice suddenly changed. He let out a strange cry and trembled. What poison is this? It's actually so strange and so shocking? There is actually such a mysterious and terrifying poison in this world? Poison Hand's devil's voice began to tremble. Chapter 106. Next, Poison Hand's devil was like a drug addict as he let out all sorts of strange cries of excitement and shock. However, these cries were nothing but torture to Yang Dingtian's ears. Poison Hand's devil's perverse fanaticism towards the world's most unique poisons had far exceeded his imagination. It could be said that if the soul-devouring profound qi was extremely fatal, this perverse Ouyangluan would have swallowed it whole long ago. Poison Hand's devil screamed excitedly for a dozen minutes before gradually coming to a stop. Yang Dingtian asked. Senior Ouyang, you've never seen this poison before, so you don't know what it is, right? I've never seen this poison before. Poison Hand's devil said. I don't know what kind of poison it is. When he said this, his tone was filled with frustration and vexation, but also great excitement. He was truly an incomparably contradictory person. Yang Dingtian wasn't surprised by this result. He immediately smiled. Then I've won the bet, I know, this is the soul-devouring profound qi. Suddenly, Poison Hand's devil cried out in excitement. Heavens, it's actually the soul-devouring profound qi. After several hundred years, the world's most evil profound qi has once again descended into the world. The world is about to fall into chaos. This time, it was Yang Dingtian's turn to be shocked. Poison Hand's devil actually knew about the soul-devouring profound qi. It was indeed, as he said, the soul-devouring profound qi had disappeared for several hundred years. Almost no one in the world knew about this evil profound qi. Then does Senior have a way to cure it? Yang Ditian excitedly asked, full of anticipation. If Poison Hand's devil answered that he did, then he would lose the bet. However, Yang Ditian still hoped that he had a way. Suddenly, the quagmire fell into silence. After a long while, Poison Hand's devil said, I don't have a cure for the soul-devouring profound qi. Yang Dingtian's heart went cold. He was incomparably disappointed. Poison Hand's devil said, If I can't cure it, then you've won the bet. But why do you still look so unhappy? Could it be that someone close to you has been poisoned by the soul-devouring profound qi? That's right. She's the person closest to me. Yang Dingtian calmed himself down and said, Senior demonic corpse, you've lost, so please fulfill your promise and give me the myriad poison demonic snake. Kick the giant corpse puppet's head back into the quagmire first, said Poison Hand's devil. After a moment of hesitation, Yang Dingtian kicked the disgusting and terrifying head, which was also the result of Poison Hand's devil's lifetime of research, into the quagmire. Suddenly it was as if an invisible hand had swallowed the giant head. All right, Senior, you can leave the myriad poisons demon snake to me now, Yang Dingtian said. Haha, dream on. I lost the bet, but I will definitely not give you the myriad poisons devil snake. In any case, I have already obtained the poisonous blood of the soul-devouring profound energy. Poison Hand's devil laughed loudly. Senior, are you going to go back on your words? Are you going to go back on your word? Yang Dingtian said angrily. That's right, I want to go back on my words. What can you do about it? If you're not afraid of death, why don't you kill your way into the quagmire? Poison Hand's devil laughed. Yang Dingtian looked at the huge quagmire in front of him. He didn't know how many poisons and dangers there were inside. Once he jumped in, death would be the only outcome. Senior is also famous. Why are you such a scoundrel? Yang Dingtian coldly asked. I've always been a despicable and shameless person. I've always treated the words I've said and the oaths I've made as nonsense. You don't understand my character. Who can you blame for being tricked? Poison Hand's devil sneered. Yang Dingtian was speechless. A person who kept saying he was despicable and shameless, there was really nothing he could do about it. However, Yang Dingtian was already prepared for Poison Hand's devil's shamelessness. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian slowly said, Senior, have you heard of the deep-sea Xian poison? Poison Hand's devil shrieked. Deep-sea Xian poison? The #1 poison in the world, the last life-saving treasure of the Naga race, formed from the blood essence and Xian Qi of the Naga race. How could I not know? Yang Dingtian asked. Then do you want to see this poison, or even have a tiny bit of it? Yes, of course. I want it even in my dreams, even after I die. Poison Hand's devil's voice trembled. There was no doubt that the deep-sea Xian poison was an irresistible temptation to him. If the soul-devourer Xian Qi made him crazy, then the deep-sea Xian poison made him completely insane. Compared to the soul-devourer Xian Qi, the deep-sea Xian poison was a truly strange poison, and the #1 poison in the world. Then Poison Hand's devil gradually calmed down and said, You're lying to me. The deep-sea Xian poison is the last life-saving treasure of the Naga race. For 1,000 years, no one has ever seen a real Naga race. You're dreaming if you want to obtain the deep-sea Xian poison. So, if you want to trick me, you have to use something else. Using the deep-sea Xian poison to trick me, even a ghost won't believe you. Yang Dingtian sneered and raised the strange blade in his hand. Senior, do you know what kind of treasured sword this sword in my hand is? Do you know what one of the demon cores on the hilt is? Poison Hand's devil asked. What does this have to do with the deep-sea Xian poison? The sword in my hand is a melted Millennium Owl's claw. One of the demon cores on the hilt is the Millennium Owl's demon core. At that time, I was only an initiate. What did I rely on to kill the Millennium Owl? It was the deep-sea Xian poison. Otherwise, even if there were 10,000 or 100 million of me, I still wouldn't be able to kill the Millennium Owl. Yang Dingtian said. You killed the Millennium Owl? Did you kill the Millennium Owl in Horror Mountain Village? How is that possible? Impossible? Poison Hands Devil said in shock. Yang Dingtian was also surprised. The Millennium Owl was a top secret in Horror Mountain Village. How did Poison Hands Devil know? Senior, can't you tell that this strange blade is shaped like the Millennium Owl's claw? The Millennium Owl's demon core is very unique. Others might not be able to recognize it, but Senior can't? That's impossible, right? Yan Dingtian directly removed the decorations on the Millennium Owl's demon core. He didn't know how Poison Hands Devil had seen it, but he had seen it in the end. He sucked in a breath of cold air and muttered to himself. It really is the Millennium Owl's. If not for the fact that I was no match for it, I would have already had designs on it. With your cultivation, even 10,000 of you wouldn't be able to harm a single hair on the Millennium Owl. Could it be that you really have the deep sea Xian poison? Poison Hands Devil's voice was trembling as he spoke. I never lie. Yang Dingtian slowly said. All right, I agree to the exchange. Give me the deep sea Xian poison, and I'll immediately give you the myriad poisons Devil Snake. Poison Hands Devil said. Your previous broken promise has already caused me to no longer trust you. So please give me the myriad poisons Devil Snake first, then I'll give you the deep sea Xian poison. Yang Dingtian said. Humph, do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? If I give you the snake, what if you refuse to give me the deep sea Xian poison? Poison Hands Devil said. Yang Dingtian disdainfully sneered. My cultivation might not be much, but I'm a man of my word. I'd rather die than go back on my word. Yang Dingtian's attitude was very arrogant, causing Poison Hands Devil to sink into silence. Yang Dingtian continued. Furthermore, if I go back on my word, Senior can easily kill me with poison. All right, I agree. Poison Hands Devil said. Then, a snow-white box flew out of the quagmire. Yang Dingtian reached out to grab it, and immediately felt a bone-piercing chill. This was a box carved from profound ice-cold jade. Opening the box, there was indeed a small snake that was only as thick as a chopstick. It was glistening dark green and looked very cute, but it was the overlord of all poisonous creatures in the world. It ate nothing but poisonous creatures. The more poisonous it was, the more it liked it. With it, he could suck out all the deep sea Xian poison from Mingning's body. Quickly close the box. Poison Hands Devil said. Otherwise, when it wakes up, it'll be troublesome if you don't have any poison to feed it. It'll bite you to death. Seeing the beautiful little snake gradually wriggling, as if it was about to wake up, Yang Dingtian hurriedly closed the box and put it in his chest. Now it's time for you to fulfill your promise. Poison Hands Devil said coldly, his tone filled with fatal threat. Yang Dingtian took out a jade bottle and threw it into the quagmire. Senior, there's deep sea Xian poison inside. Although it's less than a 10,000th of it, it's still extremely poisonous. You can't even smell it. Senior, be careful. You're indeed a man of your word. Poison Hands Devil said. Then, the jade bottle was directly swallowed by the quagmire. A few minutes later, Poison Hands Devil suddenly let out a high-pitched scream of excitement. He was so excited that he was almost trembling. Strange poison, it's indeed the #1 strange poison in the world. Then, Poison Hands Devil actually began to cry, wailing loudly under the quagmire. However, his cries were like the screeching of an owl, extremely ear-piercing. After crying, he began to laugh loudly. Deep sea Xian poison, deep sea Xian poison. I never thought that I would be able to see deep sea Xian poison again in my life. Even if I die, I have no regrets. Ha 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 ha. Seeing Poison Hands Devil go completely crazy, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but feel sympathy for him. Then, holding on to the last trace of hope, he asked, Senior, I'm just going to ask some random questions. It's up to you whether you want to answer them or not. Ask away, ask away. Poison Hands Devil said. After you're done, hurry up and leave. Don't delay me from enjoying the #1 strange poison in the world. Is there really no way for me to enter the blood pool to cultivate? Yang Dingtian asked. Poison Hands Devil, who was in the quagmire, fell into silence. Then he said, "Young man, I never speak in human language, but today, I'll say something. Go back and don't go to the Temple of Blood. I don't know what happened to you or what the consequences will be, but you'll be fine as long as you endure it. If you go to the Temple of Blood, your life will be over. In other words, in this world, there isn't a single outsider who can enter the blood pool to cultivate?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Unless you kill Duga Xiao and take over the Temple of Blood, or you take Duga Fengwu between your legs, don't even dream about it." Poison Hand's devil laughed. No matter which one it was impossible. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and bowed. "Senior Ouyang, this junior will take his leave. Please take care. Let's go. Help me burn an incense stick on your master's grave." Poison Hand's devil said, "For delivering the deep-sea mystic poison to me during the last few days of my life. Now I can die without regrets." Yang Dingtian was startled. Poison Hand's devil only had a few days left to live? However, this was normal. He had suffered such miserable torture, and was able to endure for over a dozen years. He was already a learned man. He had already snatched back over a dozen years of his life from the heavens. "Take care." Yang Dingtian bowed deeply again. Then, he turned and prepared to leave. Right at this moment, the sky in the distance suddenly lit up. A giant fiery red light directly tore apart the dark night sky. Then, there was an ear-piercing screech that nearly pierced Yang Dingtian's eardrums. A giant fiery red bat approached from afar. In the blink of an eye, it flew above Yang Dingtian's head and flapped its giant wings. This bat had blood-red eyes and a malevolent appearance. When it spread its wings, it was dozens of meters in size. Its entire body was as red as blood, like a burning flame. As it flapped its wings in the night sky, it was like a demon from hell had descended. As its giant wings flapped, a fiery gale swept up from the ground, causing Yang Dingtian to be unable to open his eyes. "What are you still doing here? Why aren't you leaving?" Poison Hand's devil, Ouyang Luan, said with a trembling voice that was filled with endless fear. Poison Hand's devil was such an evil person, but he was actually so fearful at this moment. It could be seen how powerful and terrifying this person was. "Poison Corpse, time is up. Can you cure the poison in my sister's body?" An incomparably sexy and seductive voice came from the giant bat. Duga Fengwu, the princess of the Temple of Blood, the #1 demoness of the evil ways, Duga Fengwu. When Yang Dingtian finally saw her again, it was as though his entire body was immobilized. "Young Lady Dugu, your sister's body isn't poisoned at all. Therefore, please forgive me for being powerless." Poison Hand's devil gradually calmed down and said slowly, "I can even say that no one in this world can save her. She can only live for one more day." "Ah!" Duga Fengwu yelled out furiously, her voice filled with sorrow. "Then can the people from the Netherworld Sea be treated?" Duga Fengwu asked. "I already said that young Lady Aoshuang isn't poisoned or injured. No one in this world can treat her," Poison Hand's devil said. Duga Fengwu said furiously, "Since you can't save my sister, what's the use of keeping you? Go and die." Poison Hand's devil stayed silent for a moment, and said slowly, "I can die without regrets, but this lad on the ground is innocent. Please let him go." Duga Fengwu sneered and said, "Ouyang Luan, when did you become a bodhisattva?" Poison Hand's devil smiled faintly and said, "When a person is about to die, his words are kind. Furthermore, this lad has the same experience as me when I was young. It's just that he chose to rise with difficulty, while I chose to fall. I have always regretted the path I took." Immediately after, Poison Hand's devil said to Yang Dingtian, "Lad, when I was young, my clan fell, and my fiancée broke off the engagement. I suffered great humiliation and almost lost my life. It's just that I chose to fall in darkness. Thus I became Poison Hand's devil and poisoned my fiancée and her entire clan to death. However, after killing them, I didn't get any pleasure. Instead, I felt even more pain. Therefore, the path you took was right. Even though it was very difficult, you have to continue walking. Many thanks, senior. Yang Dingtian bowed. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian turned to look at Dugu Fengwu in the sky and said, Young Lady Dugu, Senior Ouyang doesn't have long to live. Therefore, I beg you not to kill him and let him pass away on his own. Is that all right, Pa? Before Yang Dingtian finished speaking, Dugu Fengwu suddenly drew her sharp sword and slashed down at the quagmire. There was a loud sound as a sword light that was a few 100 feet long burst out. In an instant, the entire quagmire exploded, and a few 100 meters of the ground was slashed with deep crevices. All the mud was instantly evaporated by the sword light. Poison Hand's devil, who was in the quagmire, was directly slashed into 2 halves. He didn't even let out a scream and died immediately. At this moment, Yang Dingtian finally saw Poison Hand's devil's appearance. He didn't look like a human anymore. His entire body was festering and bulging like a wild beast crawling on the ground. It was a tragic sight. After being slashed into 2 halves by Dugu Fengwu, the blood that flowed out was green. Yang Dingtian stared blankly at Poison Hand's devil's corpse, and the blood in his body was almost boiling. This demonic woman! Demonic woman! She was actually so vicious and merciless. Poison Hand's devil didn't have many days left to live, and before Yang Dingtian could finish his request, she slashed down with her sword. Demonic woman, a completely inhumane demonic woman. Right now, Yang Dingtian was truly regretting that he didn't take advantage of this demonic woman's weakness back at the Catkin Manor to kill her. At this moment, Dugu Fengwu, who was in the sky, looked at Yang Dingtian indifferently and frowned with disdain. This ant on the ground didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth and actually pointed at her, Dugu Fengwu, and made irresponsible remarks. Afterward, Dugu Fengwu raised her sharp sword and was about to slash down at Yang Dingtian. She, Dugu Fengwu, had always killed cleanly and didn't leave a single person alive. Sensing Dugu Fengwu's killing intent, Yang Dingtian slowly drew his night owl's strange blade and raised it above his head. Even if he was going to die, he had to put up a final resistance. Even though any resistance would be futile under Dugu Fengwu's sword. Even if he was a mantis trying to stop a chariot, he had to do it. Dugu Fengwu's sword light, which was a few 100 feet long, slashed down at Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian aimed at that shocking sword light and cleaved at it. Just as Yang Dingtian was about to be smashed into pieces, Dugu Fengwu's beautiful eyes changed as she said, "You are called Yan Nantian?" Yang Dingtian was slightly startled. This was the fake name that he told Shuang'er, and Dugu Fengwu actually knew about it now. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "That's right, I am Yan Nantian." Dugu Fengwu withdrew her sword light and took out a portrait from her bosom. She carefully compared it with Yang Dingtian's face for a moment. Of course, Yang Dingtian was currently wearing a human skin mask. However, Dugu Fengwu couldn't be bothered with it. As for Yang Dingtian being worried that his true identity would be exposed, it would be a joke. Dugu Fengwu had even forgotten who Yang Dingtian was at this moment. "It is you," Dugu Fengwu said. She then pointed her jade-like hands at Yang Dingtian and suddenly opened up. In an instant, there was a powerful suction force, and Yang Dingtian's body flew up to 100 meters in the sky. He landed on the giant back of the bloodthirsty bat in front of Dugu Fengwu. At this moment, he finally saw Dugu Fengwu's true figure. She was still wearing a man's clothes and the same golden mask. Her entire body was still filled with devilish temptation and devilish killing intent. After grabbing Yang Dingtian onto the bat's back, Dugu Fengwu yelled out softly. That giant bat immediately flapped its wings and flew out of the netherworld swamp. "Young Lady Dugu, where are you bringing me?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Temple of Blood," Dugu Fengwu replied. Yang Dingtian's heart pounded as he asked, "Why are we going to the Temple of Blood?" "To get married and become my Temple of Blood's son-in-law," Dugu Fengwu said coldly. Chapter 107. Get married? Yang Dingtian asked in astonishment. "Who are you getting married to? Why are you asking so much? You will know when you get married," Dugu Fengwu said impatiently. "From now on, you better shut your mouth. If you say another word, I will slash you with my sword. Yang Dingtian was speechless again, but he immediately shut his mouth. This demonic woman's words were definitely not a threat, and she would definitely do it. However, the strange thing was that the bloodthirsty bat didn't fly towards the Temple of Blood in the north. Instead, it flew towards the land of chaos in the south. Despite the doubts in his heart, Yang Dingtian didn't ask. After all, the bloodthirsty bat was flying very fast. In less than 3 hours, the bloodthirsty bat had already flown over 2,000 miles and returned to the town where Yang Dingtian first met Shuang'er. Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. He seemed to know what Dugefengwu was going to do. She controlled the bloodthirsty bat to land just a few dozen meters away from the ground. The people in the town below immediately looked up with astonished eyes. Immediately after, Dugefengwu drew her long sword and slashed at the people on the ground. The sword light that was a few dozen meters long slashed on the ground. Pa! There was a loud sound, and the dozens of people on the ground were instantly smashed into pieces. On the hard ground, there was a huge crack that was a few meters long and a few meters deep. In an instant, the entire town fell into a deathly silence. Afterward, countless people started to scream in fear and ran for their lives. Dugefengwu looked at the people below with cold eyes. She controlled the bloodthirsty bat to fly to every corner of the town and slash down with her sharp sword. In an instant, countless sword lights slashed down from the sky, slashing at every corner of the town and every crowd. The entire town instantly turned into a sure hell. Every sword light slashed down, turning the huge houses into ruins. The huge trees were turned into charcoal, and the hard and flat stone roads were split open. Countless people who were running for their lives were instantly smashed into pieces, and blood splattered everywhere. In just a short dozen minutes, there was no longer a single person or horse left standing in the town. Everyone in the town had been wiped out by Dugefengwu. The town within a radius of a few miles was completely reduced to ruins. This Dugefengwu was able to destroy the entire town by herself in just over 10 minutes. Yang Dingtian knew why Dugefengwu did this. It was because Shuang'er was bullied in this town. In order to seek justice for Shuang'er, Dugefengwu came over and killed everyone in the town. Yang Dingtian's body trembled violently. He turned his head and said, "You're crazy. The villains who bullied Shuang'er have all been killed by me. Although the people below are not good people, they are innocent when it comes to Shuang'er." "Shut up," Dugefengwu said coldly. "One more word, and I will cut off your tongue." After killing the entire town, Dugefengwu controlled the bloodthirsty bat and flew towards the north. 2 hours later they once again flew over the Netherworld swamp, and then continued flying towards the north. The Temple of 10,000 Blood was over 3,000 miles away from the Netherworld swamp. After passing through the Netherworld swamp, it was more or less the territory of the evil ways. But for close to 2,000 miles, it was almost all ruins. There were no traces of people living there. The ruins were already very old and overgrown with weeds. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but reveal an astonished expression. In the battle 200 years ago, almost all of our people died. Until now, we still haven't recovered. Dugefengwu said coldly. But one day, we will take back this blood debt and wipe out everyone in the Tiando League. Dugefengwu's body was emitting killing aura, which made Yang Dingtian feel as though there were thorns on his body. The dilapidated ruins stretched for about 2,000 miles. After passing through a giant black mountain range, everything changed completely. Yang Dingtian once again saw the densely packed buildings and the bustling crowd. It was filled with peace and order. From the looks of it, it wasn't any different from the Tiando League's territory. Some people were practicing martial arts, some were cutting trees, and some were mining. In short, there were no killings or robberies. Compared to the land of chaos, it was completely a paradise. This place was still over 1,000 miles away from the Temple of 10,000 Blood. This should be the territory of the Temple of 10,000 Blood, the true territory of the evil ways. From the looks of it, it wasn't any different from the Tiando League's territory. After more than an hour, the bloodthirsty bats flew over this prosperous and peaceful territory. They were now only 300 miles away from the Temple of 10,000 Blood. An extremely wide river obstructed their path. Even if Yang Dingtian was in the sky, he couldn't see the end of the river. The river water was bright red like blood, and the sky above the river was completely enveloped by a dense blood-red fog. This was the River of Ecstasy. It was 300 miles wide and a few thousand miles long. The river water was bright red like blood, and if someone fell into it, there wouldn't even be a corpse left. The Temple of 10,000 Blood was just opposite the River of Ecstasy. The 300 miles wide River of Ecstasy had become a natural barrier. Therefore, even though the Tiando League had obtained a great victory 200 years ago, they were still unable to exterminate the evil ways. This was because just the 300 miles wide River of Ecstasy had become an insurmountable moat. The bloodthirsty bats flew for 20 minutes across the 300 miles wide River of Ecstasy. Finally, a gigantic stone mountain came into view. The mountain of 10,000 Blood stood on the River of Ecstasy. The highest point of the mountain was 20,000 meters high, and the entire mountain range extended for nearly 1,000 miles. The Temple of 10,000 Blood was built on the highest mountain of 10,000 Blood. The entire mountain of 10,000 Blood was a gigantic stone mountain without any soil or vegetation. The countless buildings of the Temple of 10,000 Blood were within this stone mountain. The bloodthirsty bats carried the two of them over the 20,000-meter-tall mountain of 10,000 Blood and arrived at the other side of the mountain. Instantly, Yang Dingtian saw the most magnificent scene. The entire stone mountain was densely packed with caves, and countless pavilions were built within the cracks of the stone mountain. The entire Temple of 10,000 Blood's buildings were of uncanny workmanship. On Earth, even in the high-tech era, it was almost impossible to complete such a huge and difficult project. The bloodthirsty bats landed on a giant platform. Dugu Fengwu grabbed onto Yang Dingtian and jumped off the bat. She then walked into a long passageway and arrived at a simple and crude cave. After throwing Yang Dingtian into the cave, Dugu Fengwu said coldly, "Wait here. We will get married tonight." The entire cave was very simple and crude, and there was only a stone bed and a few stone stools. Yang Dingtian sat on the stone bed. At this moment, he obviously knew who Dugu Fengwu was forcing him to get married to. It was Shuanger, whom Yang Dingtian had once saved. Her name should be Dugu Aoshuang, and she was Dugu Fengwu's twin sister. It was just that the heavens had given Dugu Fengwu the most extreme beauty and the most extreme innate talent. In order to balance it out, the heavens had given Dugu Aoshuang a lifetime of misfortune. She had an absolutely beautiful figure and eyes, but her skin was covered with terrifying scales. The heavens gave Dugu Fengwu powerful martial strength, but made Dugu Aoshuang extremely weak. In the heavens, Dugu Fengwu was arrogant and vicious, but made Dugu Aoshuang feel inferior and pure. The Creator seemed to have given all his favoritism to Dugu Fengwu, and all the misfortune to Dugu Aoshuang. Therefore, Dugu Fengwu was cold and heartless to everyone in this world, but she was filled with endless love and guilt for her sister, Dugu Aoshuang. Now, Yang Dingtian was facing a difficult problem. Should he marry Dugu Aoshuang? Should he not marry her? Not only would he not be able to enter the blood pool to cultivate, but he would also die without a doubt. Marry her? He might be able to make use of Dugu Aoshuang to enter the blood pool to cultivate, but that would be a blatant lie to Dugu Aoshuang. Facing such a pure and pitiful girl, how could Yang Dingtian bear to do that? For a few hours, Yang Dingtian's heart was in a deep struggle, and he was unable to make a choice. For a few hours, Dugu Fengwu didn't appear, and no one entered the stone room. Yang Dingtian seemed to have been forgotten in this place. It was going to be dark soon. After dark, the wedding would be held. At this moment, Yang Dingtian had already made his choice. In order to save Yan Yan and kill Qin Xiaobai, he was willing to have a wedding with Dugu Aoshuang. He would then make use of the opportunity to enter the blood pool to cultivate, and finally think of a way to escape the Temple of Blood. At this moment, the stone room's door suddenly opened, and it was completely dark outside. "I heard that my daughter, Dugu Aoshuang, likes you a lot." Afterward, a penetrating voice echoed in his ears, and a tall figure slowly walked out from the darkness. This person was about 1.9 meters tall. He had thick eyebrows and a long beard. His face was red, his nose was hanging, his lips were thick, and his slanted eyes were piercing. He was about the same age as Dongfang Nimi and Shimen Wuya. He wasn't considered handsome, but he had an oppressive and tyrannical aura that couldn't be concealed even by his refined green robes. This person should be the Temple of Blood's temple master, Dugu Shao. The infamous great demon Dugu Shao, a Grand Master expert, one of the leaders of the evil ways, and one of the strongest people in this world. Yang Dingtian climbed up from the stone bed and bowed. Yang Dingtian pays his respects to Senior. And Dugu Shao sat down on a stone bench and replied indifferently. Are you willing to marry my daughter? I am willing. Yang Dingtian lowered his head. Her appearance is very frightening. Don't you mind? Dugu Shao continued to ask. I don't feel that Shuangher's appearance is frightening. Instead, she has a special kind of beauty, Yang Dingtian said. Dugu Shao stood up and walked to Yang Dingtian. He casually placed his palm on Yang Dingtian's head and said, Tell me your true motive. Yang Dingtian, you only have one chance to speak. If I'm not satisfied with your answer, I'll kill you. Yang Dingtian's body suddenly trembled. Why was he still recognized even though he was disguised as Yan Nantian? I could smell your pure yang meridians from dozens of feet away. You're the only one in this world with such profound meridians, Dugu Shao said indifferently. Tell me, what is your motive for coming to the Temple of Blood? You only have one chance to answer. Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt that he was in an ice cellar. His entire body was ice cold, and the light of the Grim Reaper started to envelop him. As long as his answer didn't satisfy this great demon, he would definitely die. I want to enter the blood pool to cultivate, Senior Dugu. Yang Dingtian spoke the truth. Dugu Zhao's palm didn't fall as he said indifferently. You want to break through in the blood pool, kill Qin Xiaobai, and save Shimin Yanyan? Yang Dingtian was stunned. This Dugu Shao knew everything, but he still wanted to ask him. If he was lying, he would already be a corpse. That's right. Senior, please show mercy and let me enter the blood pool to cultivate once, Yang Dingtian said. Why should I? Even the majority of our disciples can't enter the blood pool to cultivate. Why should I allow an outsider like you to enter? Dugu Shao asked indifferently. Yang Dingtian gritted his teeth and said, Because I once saved the life of your daughter, Dugu Aoshuang. I think this favor should be enough for me to enter the blood pool to cultivate once. Dugu Aoshuang? I don't even like this daughter. What does it have to do with me whether you save her or not? Dugu Shao said indifferently. If the one you saved was Dugu Fengwu, then it would be better. Yang Dingtian was instantly astonished. This Dugu Shao was actually so cold and heartless. No matter what, Dugu Aoshuang was still his biological daughter. As for her life and death, he actually didn't care at all. Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt a chill in his teeth. Dugu Shao then looked at Yang Dingtian and said, Yang Dingtian, it's not impossible for you to enter the blood pool to cultivate. However, you have to agree to a condition of mine first. What condition? Senior, please tell me, Yang Dingtian said. The condition is to marry Dugu Aoshuang and become the son-in-law of my Temple of Blood, Dugu Shao asked. Yang Dingtian was slightly startled. What was the difference? Yang Dingtian had already agreed to marry Dugu Aoshuang just now. It was just that he said it with the identity of Yan Nantian. Dongfang Minmi and Shimen Wuya have their eyes on you. However, Dongfang Bingling didn't. Do you know why? Dugu Shao said. Because Dongfang Minmi and Shimen Wuya are both great grandmaster experts, but Dongfang Bingling isn't. Following that, Dugu Shao said, I am also a great grandmaster expert. Therefore I have my eyes on you as well. You might not know this, but your pure yang meridian that only appears once in 1,000 years is unfathomable. It is a huge temptation to us. Therefore, as long as you agree to be my son-in-law, you can cultivate in the blood pool 10 times or even 100 times, let alone once. Following that, Dugu Shao said, Furthermore, as long as you become my son-in-law. Even if Dugu Aoshuang dies soon, if your cultivation surpasses my other daughter, Dugu Fengwu, I can make the decision to betroth her to you. If your cultivation reaches the pinnacle, then I can also give you the position of Temple of Blood Lord. How about that? Yang Ditian was astonished and speechless. Now make a choice. Either you become my son-in-law and completely cut off all ties with the Tiando League and become a member of the evil ways, Dugu Shao said indifferently, or you can die. I will never allow a person with absolute talent to stay in the Tiando League. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and looked at Dugu Zhao's palm above his head. As long as he said no, Dugu Shao would cleave down with his palm. All right, I am willing, Yang Dingtian said. I am willing to be your son-in-law. That's right, Yang Dingtian agreed to him. Because he was facing a super demon. Talking about keeping a promise in front of him wasn't noble, but foolish. Yang Dingtian wasn't so pedantic. Dugu Shao looked at Yang Dingtian indifferently and revealed a smile. Very good. Then let's start preparing for the wedding. Chapter 108. Then, Dugu Shao said, you can stay here peacefully for a period of time. You can officially get married after 10 days. 10 days? Instantly, Yang Dingtian was completely stunned. 6 days later was the day of his duel with Qin Xiaobai. Dugu Shao actually said that they would get married after 10 days. Then everything would be too late. Everything would be over. Then, Dugu Shao gently said, of course, I am willing to believe you personally. But what if you are faking your marriage with my daughter and using her to enter the 10,000 blood pool to cultivate, and then take the opportunity to escape from the Temple of 10,000 blood? Then wouldn't I become a huge laughingstock? So, after 10 days, when Cloud Heaven City's situation is completely finished, you can marry Aoshuang. This will be good for both of us. Then, Dugu Shao stood up and walked outside, saying, in these 10 days you can stay in this stone room and wait for the marriage. After Dugu Shao left, the thick door of the stone room closed. Ah! Yang Dingtian suddenly roared and smashed his fist on the stone wall. Immediately, blood dripped and a piece of the stone wall cracked. This damned Dugu Shao, this damned great demon, was actually so cunning. He saw through Yang Dingtian's thoughts and didn't fall for it at all. After a moment of anger, Yang Dingtian calmed down. He definitely couldn't resign himself to death like this. He had to think of a way to get out. Thus Yang Dingtian began to observe the stone room. The wall itself was a mountain of stone and was extremely thick. It was impossible to break through. The door was made of metal, so his night owl's strange blade should be able to cut it open. However, there were definitely guards outside, and their cultivation levels were definitely higher than his. Just as Yang Dingtian was racking his brains to think of a way to get out, a colorless and odorless thing suddenly came out of the stone room. Yang Dingtian felt something was wrong and immediately held his breath, but it was still useless. The medicinal smell directly penetrated through his skin. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's mind started to feel dizzy, his eyes started to blur, and his steps started to sway. Yang Dingtian used all of his profound qi and willpower to resist the drug, but he still fainted. He didn't know how long he had been unconscious, but when Yang Dingtian woke up again, he was very hungry and very thirsty. He should have been unconscious for more than 12 hours. After waking up, a small hole was opened in the metal door, and a meal was stuffed in. It was quite sumptuous, and there was also wine. Yang Dingtian's stomach was rumbling with hunger. He immediately took the food and wine and finished them all. Just as he was full, another colorless and odorless medicinal mist came out of the room, and Yang Dingtian fainted again. Just like this, Dugu Shao locked Yang Dingtian in the stone prison, ignoring him. However, 3 meals a day would be sent over. After Yang Dingtian finished eating, the stone cave would release a kind of aura, which instantly made Yang Dingtian drowsy. Just like this, Yang Dingtian ate and slept every day, and slept and ate again. No one cared, no one cared. 3 meals was equivalent to a day. 1 day passed. 2 days passed. 3 days passed. Yang Dingtian tried everything, but he was unable to get out of this stone cave, because he was really unable to resist the mysterious drug. Yang Dingtian was really going crazy. He had suffered all kinds of pain since coming to this world, but he had never suffered such terrible torture. This Duge Xiao was really a demon. He didn't torture you physically, but thoroughly tortured you mentally and spiritually. Yang Dingtian was about to go crazy because the day of his martial arts duel with Qin Xiaobai was about to arrive. He had used all of his strength, but he was still unable to break open the stone door. Instead, his limbs were dripping with blood and were badly mutilated. Finally, 6 days passed. During these 6 days, no one met with Yang Dingtian, and no one talked to him. Even every meal was pushed in through the small hole in the stone door. The day of the duel with Qin Xiaobai was over, and Yang Dingtian didn't appear in the duel. Qin Xiaobai and the others were proud, but Shimin Yanyan, Shimin Ningning, Madame Shimin, Shimin Lai, and the others were disappointed. Now, the entire northwest continent was definitely spreading the news of Yang Dingtian's cowardice, shamelessness, and despicable. The rumor of Yang Dingtian using despicable means to rape Madame Shimin, and using the yin-yang devour Xian technique to steal Xian qi to achieve a breakthrough would be recognized as the truth. Yang Dingtian and Madame Shimin would be completely nailed to the pillar of shame. On the 6th day, the stone door finally opened, and a figure walked in. Yang Dingtian was originally lying on the ground, but at this moment, he suddenly stood up. The person who came was Duge Xiao, the great demon of evil ways, Duge Xiao. 6 days have passed, and the day of your duel with Qin Xiaobai has passed. You should know very well how serious the consequences are, right? Duge Xiao said. Don't worry, my spies in Cloud Heaven City will send you detailed information very soon. After a few days, you will know everything that happened in Cloud Heaven City. Yang Dingtian remained silent. Seems like the torture wasn't enough, Duge Xiao said. You didn't kneel down and beg me, nor did you cry bitterly. Your willpower is indeed very strong. Yang Dingtian still didn't say anything. Do you want to go out? Duge Xiao asked. Yes, Yang Dingtian said. Do you want to go out from the stone cave or leave the Temple of Blood and return to Cloud Heaven City? Duge Xiao asked. Leave the Temple of Blood and return to Cloud Heaven City, Yang Dingtian said. But you are already a disgrace to Cloud Heaven City. There is no place for you there. What should I do? Duge Xiao said. Yang Dingtian said. That is my problem. I will give you a choice. Promise me and I will let you go, Duge Xiao said. Please say it, Yang Dingtian said. Acknowledge me as your master and become a member of the Temple of Blood. I will do my best to nurture you. How about that? Duge Xiao said. As long as you swear to completely break off all ties with Shimin Wuya, I will let you go. Yang Dingtian smiled coldly and didn't reply. Since his trick had been seen through by Duge Xiao, he didn't need to continue acting. All right, it seems like your pitiful willpower is still there. I will have to lock you up for a few more days, Duge Xiao said. I will come back in 3 days with news from Cloud Heaven City. After saying that, Duge Xiao walked out and closed the stone door. Yang Dingtian knew that his duel with Duge Xiao had begun. This wasn't a duel of strength but a duel of spirit and willpower. Whoever compromised first would be the loser. Of course, Duge Xiao could kill at any time, but as long as he killed Yang Dingtian, he, Duge Xiao, would lose. In the next few days, Yang Dingtian returned to his previous life. After eating, he slept. After waking up, he ate again. Even though he didn't want to sleep, the domineering mist came over and seeped into his entire body, causing him to fall asleep immediately and fall into a deep dream. However, even in his dreams, he had countless nightmares. He dreamed of Yan Yan, Madame Shimin, and Shimin Ningning. Each dream was scarier than the previous one. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, finally, 3 days passed. On this day, Yang Dingtian tried his best to stay awake as he waited for Duge Xiao to come and tell him about Cloud Heaven City. However, Duge Xiao didn't come. Another day passed. 2 days. He didn't know how many days had passed. Every day, he just ate and slept. Each nightmare was scarier and more miserable than the previous one. However, Yang Dingtian didn't know how Cloud Heaven City was doing. He didn't know how the people he cared about were doing. That's right. Duga Xiao was a demon. He was torturing Yang Dingtian. He already knew about Cloud Heaven City's situation, but he didn't tell Yang Dingtian. It was like a felon. He felt that he would betray the death penalty, but he also felt that he wouldn't. However, the judge didn't sentence him and hung him up day after day, torturing him. Time passed day by day. He ate countless meals, slept countless times, and had countless dreams. He really didn't know how many days had passed. Finally, the stone door opened again. Dugu Xiao finally walked in again. Yang Dingtian crawled up from the ground weakly. He had lost more than 10 kilograms and was covered in dirt. The beard on his face was also 2 inches long. He really didn't know how many days had passed. Sorry, I forgot about you. I said I would come and see you in 3 days. I didn't expect to see you in 10 days. It has been more than half a month since you came to the Temple of 10,000 Blood. Dugu Xiao sat down in front of Yang Dingtian and said, Do you want to know what happened in Cloud Heaven City? Do you want to know what happened to Shimin Yanyan? Yang Dingtian nodded weakly. Dugu Xiao smiled. You didn't appear on the day of the duel. Shimin Yanyan was found guilty. Cloud Heaven City is finished. Shimin Yanyan is finished. Madam Shimin is finished. Shimin Lai is finished. Shimin Ningning is finished. You have become the shame of the world. Madam Shimin has also been nailed to the pillar of shame. Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt as though he was struck by lightning as he stood there in a daze. You didn't believe me when I told you about their fates, so I caught someone you are familiar with to tell you. Only then will you believe me, Dugu Xiao said. Then, he clapped his hands lightly. Instantly, a green figure rushed in. It was actually Lu'er, Yanyan's personal maidservant Lu'er. Seeing Yang Dingtian, Lu'er rushed over crazily. Her sharp nails scratched on Yang Dingtian's face, ruthlessly leaving 10 bloody scars. She shouted sternly, Yang Dingtian, you bastard, you bastard! Why didn't you appear on the day of the duel? Why didn't you appear? Yang Dingtian suddenly hugged Lu'er's body. Lu'er's body was ice cold, and her frail body was trembling. He cupped her face. She was haggard and thin, as though she had experienced countless hardships. Lu'er, how is Yan Yan? How is big sister Ningning? How is big brother Shimin Lai? How is Madam? Yang Dingtian asked while trembling. How else can she be? How else can she be? Lu cried loudly. Shimin Lai led the Black Blood Cavalry to attack the city to save young Mississippi. But because of the rumors about you and Madam, the Black Blood Cavalry's morale was low. They were defeated, and young Master Shimin Lai escaped with injuries. Young Miss Ningning summoned 10,000 beasts to attack the city, but her mystic chi was exhausted and she fell from the floating ray. The 10,000 beasts lost control and trampled crazily. Her figure could no longer be found, and only a tattered skirt was left. Young Miss originally wanted to commit suicide, but Qin Xiaobai threatened her with Madam's life, so she was forced to marry that bastard Qin Huayu. The wedding is next month. Madam was humiliated and her reputation was ruined. She originally wanted to commit suicide, but Qin Xiaobai threatened her with young Miss's life, so she is now imprisoned by them. Yang Dingtian clenched his teeth and spat out blood. He suddenly roared and spat out a mouthful of blood before fainting. With the infusion of Dugu Xiao's mystic qi, Yang Dingtian quickly woke up. Dugu Xiao said, Yang Dingtian, do you want to go out? Do you want to obtain freedom? Do you want to take revenge? Yang Dingtian nodded. All right, promise me one condition, and I will let you go. I will make you incomparably powerful. I will let you kill Qin Xiaobai, Qin Huayu, the entire Northwest Qin clan, Yan Yan, and all your enemies. Defeat Dongfang Bingling, and you can use the entire myriad blood pool whenever you want. My temple of blood will do everything to nurture you, Dugu Xiao said. As long as you promise me one condition, become my Dugu Zhao's son-in-law. Yang Dingtian had already lost all reaction. He just nodded and said, I promise you anything. This means that you will completely become a member of the evil ways and completely cut off all ties with the Tiando League. Completely cut off all ties with Shimen Wuya and Dong Fang Minmi. Dugu Zhao said coldly. Yang Dingtian still nodded blankly and said, I accept everything. Lu Er said angrily at the side. Yang Dingtian, you bastard, young miss is really blind. Then, she suddenly rushed forward and wanted to use her nails to scratch Yang Dingtian's face. Dugu Zhao grabbed Lu Er and said to Yang Dingtian, Very good, in order to show your determination, sign a pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance? What pledge of allegiance? Yang Dingtian asked. Dugu Zhao pulled out a sharp sword and handed it to Yang Dingtian. This girl in front of you is Shimin Yanyan's personal maid. If you kill her, it will show your determination to break off all ties with the Tiando League. Lu immediately let out a cry of surprise. What? Yang Dingtian was instantly stunned. Dugu Zhao said, If you don't kill her, it means your determination to break off all ties with the Tiando League is not enough. I will definitely not raise a wolf that can betray me at any time. Therefore, if you don't kill her, you will die. Yang Dingtian received the sword. His hands began to tremble, his face began to turn pale, and his eyes surged with an incomparably complicated light. Then, he raised the sharp sword aimed at the girl in front of him, and fiercely slashed down. A miserable cry rang out. Blood spurted out, and the girl in front of him died. Dugu Zhao revealed a sinister smile and said, Very good. Then in 2 hours, we will immediately bow to heaven and earth and get married. After saying that, Dugu Zhao dragged Lu Er's corpse out of the stone room. The corner of his mouth revealed a sinister and complacent smile again. In this battle of willpower and spirit with Yang Dingtian, he had won. When he subdued any talent, he first had to thoroughly torture them, both mentally and spiritually. Only after the torment would the talent be completely obedient and fearful, just like how an eagle would be tortured. Humph! What strong willpower! What powerful spirit! You are still just an ant! Dugu Zhao sneered. After Dugu Zhao left, Yang Dingtian suddenly opened his eyes. The dazed and despairing gaze was gone, and there was a hint of mockery in his cold eyes. Master, how long has it been since I was locked in the stone cave in the Temple of Blood? Yang Dingtian asked in his heart. According to your Earth's time, 72 hours have already passed. Dongfang Minmi said. 72 hours? He clearly felt that 18 days had passed, so why was it only 3 days? That's right, it was 72 hours. It wasn't even time for the duel with Dugu Zhao, so the so-called tragedy in Cloud Heaven City was fake. It was all just a mental trap set up by Dugu Zhao. The Temple of Blood used a kind of sorcery and medicine to make people fall asleep immediately after eating and enter a long dream. It made people feel like they had slept for 7 to 8 hours, but in reality, it was only slightly more than an hour. During this 1 hour, they used mystic qi to consume the food that Yang Dingtian had just eaten. When he woke up, he would feel hungry again and eat again. Just like that, he ate, slept, and ate again. 3 meals was a day's time. Using this method to time, even though only 3 days had passed, it felt like more than half a month had passed. And during these 3 days, Yang Dingtian had been sleeping most of the time in different dreams. When a person slept for tens of minutes, their dreams would often feel as long as a few hours. Therefore, during the 3 days of sleep, Yang Dingtian really felt like more than half a month had passed in his dreams. As for his body becoming skinnier and growing a beard that was a few inches long, it was a piece of cake for the Temple of Blood. The reason why Dugu Zhao was torturing Yang Dingtian mentally was to make Yang Dingtian feel despair before completely falling into the embrace of evil ways. Under the Temple of Blood sorcery, everyone's mental state would crumble and they would all surrender. The Temple of Blood had used this sorcery on many experts, and none of them had failed. No one had discovered it, except for Yang Dingtian. It was because his master's soul was still in his mind. As for the lure that Yang Dingtian had killed, she was obviously a fake. She had only used an extremely brilliant disguise technique. Yang Dingtian had already passed this stage of the mental battle. Now, the only thing left was to successfully enter the blood pool to cultivate, and then escape from the Temple of Blood. Right now, there were still 3 days before the duel with Qin Xiaobai. This was very difficult, but Yang Dingtian had to do it. Over 10 minutes later, over 10 maids walked into Yang Dingtian's stone house and helped Yang Dingtian bathe, cut his hair, and change his clothes. These dozen or so maids all had enchanting figures and beautiful faces. However, when they walked into the stone house, these maids all covered their noses because the smell inside was not very pleasant. These girls all had expressions of disgust on their faces, but they did not have any bad intentions. "Second young master, please get up. We will help you wash up," a young lady in a red dress said delicately with a slight frown. Yang Dingtian pretended to be stupefied and stood up, allowing these girls to take off his clothes and bathe him. "Our second young mistress is finally married. Furthermore, she has married such an outstanding young master. She will definitely be happy in the future," a pretty maid in green said softly. "Little hussy, do you want to be second young mistress's maid so that you can share?" the maid in red teased. "You want to share this big dummy?" the maid in green retorted delicately. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian pretended to be a marionette and was dragged to bathe, shave, cut his hair, and change into a red robe. Finally, he was escorted out by over 10 girls. "The groom is here, the groom is here." Along the way, they took hundreds and thousands of turns and entered countless stone caves and paths. Yang Dingtian realized that the Temple of Blood was completely excavated from the belly of the mountain. Furthermore, it was extremely huge and had countless stone rooms. At the start, the stone path was rather narrow and the stone rooms on both sides were very crude. There weren't many people either. As they gradually spiraled upwards, the stone path became wider and wider. In the end, it was even about 10 meters wide. The stone rooms on both sides became more exquisite and more people gathered on both sides of the stone path. However, Yang Dingtian was currently acting as someone who had a mental breakdown and couldn't look at these people in detail. There were many top-notch experts in this group of people. As long as Yang Dingtian's gaze was strange, it would be easy for them to see through him. However, Yang Dingtian was still able to hear some voices. "Second young mistress is finally married. It wasn't easy, that's right. Second young mistress is finally a bride before she dies. They have the same parents. First young mistress is as beautiful as a fairy while second young mistress isn't. Isn't this too unfair? The auspicious hour is approaching. Bride and groom, please take your places." Suddenly, a deep voice sounded. It turned out that they had already reached the top of the Temple of Blood. The top of the Temple of Blood was truly a magnificent jade palace with carved railings and walls. There were dozens of buildings and 3 plazas that were completely built within the giant crevice of the mountain peak that was a few thousand meters high. Therefore, the entire garden was suspended within the mountain peak that was 20,000 meters high. It was unknown whether this giant crevice was naturally formed or man-made. In short, it was truly a work of the gods. 10,000 meters below was the Rapture General that was filled with red light. The Temple of Blood was truly easy to defend and difficult to attack. Even if a 1,000,000-strong army came, they would be helpless. Compared to Cloud Heaven City, the difficulty and surprise of the Temple of Blood's construction were far superior. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian's gaze quickly swept across the crowd in the building's main hall. It was obvious that all the top-notch experts of the Temple of Blood were here. However, all the lights suddenly went out, and the entire building's main hall was plunged into complete darkness. It was so dark that one couldn't even see one's own fingers. Even though he knew that there were thousands of people in the main hall, he couldn't see them at all. The atmosphere instantly became strange. Then, a fragrant wind wafted over. "The fragrant bride has arrived," a man shouted loudly. At this moment, there were still 69 hours before the duel with Qin Xiaobai. Chapter 109. At this moment, there were still 69 hours before the duel with Qin Xiaobai. Immediately after, someone led Yang Dingtian to the bride's side. Instantly, he smelled a familiar and alluring body fragrance. Yang Dingtian had never encountered such a dark place. He couldn't see anything at all. He couldn't even see half an inch in front of his eyes. Instantly, Yang Dingtian's heart was filled with endless sympathy. Dugu Aoshuang was so self-abased that when she was getting married, she had to do it in the dark and didn't dare to let anyone see her face. The auspicious time has arrived. The bride and groom shall bow to heaven and earth. Then, a red silk was stuffed into Yang Dingtian's hand. The other end was in the hands of the second young mistress, Dugu Aoshuang. Immediately after, a fragrance approached. An ice-cold but extremely moving voice echoed. "Remember to treat my sister well. Tomorrow morning, if I see my sister smiling, you can live. If she doesn't smile, you are dead." Finishing her words, the great demoness Dugu Fengwu left, leaving behind the lingering fragrance and the threat of ice-cold killing intent. First bow to heaven and earth. Then, while his heart was in a mess, Yang Dingtian and the second young mistress of the Temple of Blood, Dugu Aoshuang, bowed to heaven and earth. Second bow to the parents. Husband and wife bow to each other. Send them to the bridal chamber. Just like that, Yang Dingtian ended the ceremony and was sent to the bridal chamber. From start to end, it didn't take more than 3 minutes. He didn't see any of his relatives or guests. The bridal chamber was very far away. The Temple of Blood was at the front of the giant stone mountain, while Dugu Aoshuang's bridal chamber was at the back of the mountain. Dugu Aoshuang was the only one living at the back of the mountain. Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt a little more pity for Shuang'er. No one disturbed the bridal chamber. Only Yang Dingtian and Dugu Aoshuang were at the north of the giant stone mountain, which was dozens of miles away from the Temple of Blood. In the bridal chamber, it was still pitch black. Could it be that they were going to spend their bridal chamber night in the dark? "You should have heard of my reputation as a hag, right?" Dugu Aoshuang suddenly said coldly. "But don't think that marrying me is a great favor." The voice was very familiar. It was the Shuang'er that Yang Dingtian had met. However, at this moment, her tone was cold, without the slightest bit of gentleness. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be slightly stunned. What did Dugu Aoshuang mean by that? "Dugu Fengwu feels that she owes me, so she wants me to be a bride before I die. In order to not let her feel indebted to me, I accepted her kindness," Dugu Aoshuang said. "But if you dare to touch me, I will definitely let you die without a burial ground, because my heart already belongs to someone. Although I will never marry him, I will not be willing to let other men touch me," Yang Dingtian said gently. "Don't worry, I won't touch you." After Yang Dingtian finished speaking, Dugu Aoshuang exclaimed in disbelief, "Big brother Yan, it's you." His tone was full of surprise. "Yes, it's me," Yang Dingtian said. Immediately after, he felt a warmth in his embrace, and a soft and delicate body suddenly threw itself into his embrace. "Big brother Yan, why is it you? Why are you here?" I am not dreaming, right?" Dugu Aoshuang said with a trembling voice. Yang Dingtian said with astonishment, "You don't know that the person who is marrying you is me?" I don't know," Dugu Aoshuang said. "Dugu Fengwu didn't tell me. She only said that she found a husband for me." "Big brother Yan, why are you here? I am not dreaming, right?" Dugu Aoshuang trembled slightly in his embrace. But then, her excitement gradually faded. After a moment of silence, she said sadly, "Big brother Yan, it was my sister who caught you and forced you to marry me, right?" Yang Dingtian didn't deny it. "Actually, you are not willing to marry me in your heart. You don't like me in your heart, right?" Dugu Aoshuang said with a trembling voice. "That's right. Who would like a woman with scales all over her body?" When she said this, Dugu Aoshuang's boiling hot body gradually cooled down. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath, and his voice became gentle. "Shuang'er, can I call you that?" "Yes, I like it when you call me that," Dugu Aoshuang said. "I like you very much. You have a good figure, a beautiful appearance, and a kind and pure girl. I like you very much, Yang Dingtian said. Dugu Aoshuang seemed to have recovered her vitality, and said, Then you are willing to marry me? Yang Dingtian didn't say anything for a long time. Even in the darkness, he could still see Shuang'er's eyes that were filled with hope. Her eyes were simply too beautiful and enchanting. I want to say that I am willing to marry you, Shuang'er. Even though marrying a girl like you is an incomparable blessing, I already have a wife, Yang Dingtian said slowly. Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt a warmth on his palm. It was Dugu Aoshuang's tears falling. Yang Dingtian's heart softened, and he continued, Furthermore, I came to the Temple of Blood with a purpose that I can't tell anyone. What is it, Big Brother Yen? Dugu Aoshuang asked. Even though Yang Dingtian had already revealed his identity, Dugu Aoshuang still called him Big Brother Yen. Enter the blood pool to cultivate and work hard to break through. Then, return to Cloud Heaven City to save my wife, Yang Dingtian said. After a moment of silence, Dugu Aoshuang raised her head and said, Big Brother Yen, can you tell me about her? What happened to her? All right, she is called Yan Yan Shimin, Yang Dingtian said. Next, Yang Dingtian narrated the story of him and Yan Yan, all the way to how Yan Yan was framed by Qin Shaobai and how Yang Dingtian was going to duel with Qin Shaobai 3 days later. He told Dugu Aoshuang everything. After listening, Dugu Aoshuang said gently, Big Brother Yen, Shimin Yan Yan Shimin is really blessed. If I could be like her, even if I had to die immediately, I would be willing. Yang Dingtian said, Shuang'er, although Yan Yan Shimin is one of a kind in my heart. But I want to say that regardless of appearance or personality, you and Yan Yan Shimin are the most beautiful women in the world. After hearing Yang Dingtian's words, Dugu Aoshuang's beautiful eyes instantly revealed infinite gentleness. She said, Big Brother Yen, you actually don't have to tell me these things and just say that you are willing to marry me. Then you can ask me to help you enter the blood pool to cultivate. You know that I like you, so I am willing to do anything for you. Yang Dingtian smiled and said, You are so cute and pure, who would have the heart to deceive you? After hearing Yang Dingtian's words, Dugu Aoshuang's beautiful eyes revealed even more joy. After thinking for a while, Shuang'er said, Big Brother Yen, is this okay? Yang Dingtian will belong to Yan Yan Shimin, but Yan Nantian will belong to me, okay? Didn't you say that you don't hate me like this? Today, let me and Yan Nantian be husband and wife, then I will help you enter the blood pool to cultivate, help you escape from the Temple of Blood, and let you save little sister Yan Yan Shimin, okay? Yang Dingtian was stunned. He really didn't think that Dugu Aoshuang would make such a request, and he didn't know how to reply. Hearing that Yang Dingtian didn't have any reaction, Dugu Aoshuang's delicate body trembled and said, Big Brother Yen, you said that you don't hate the scales on my body. You are telling the truth, right? Immediately, her words were filled with fear. If Yang Dingtian was lying, then there would be no one in this world who wouldn't be afraid of her. This would make her collapse, and it would make her only faith completely collapse. Of course. Yang Dingtian lowered his head and said in a gentle but firm voice, If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely tell you that I don't hate the secret of the scales on your body. I even think that they are very sexy. Then why don't you agree? After tomorrow, you will be back to being Yang Dingtian. I will only let you be Yan Nantian for a day, or even half a day. Dugu Aoshuang said, I am about to die, but before I die, I really want to be with the man I love and become a real woman. Furthermore, you said that you aren't afraid of my appearance. Yang Dingtian stayed silent for a moment before saying, Shuang'er, I am very tempted by your suggestion, but I also want to tell you a secret. My wife and I are very much in love. We have already been married for a few months, but we still haven't become a real husband and wife. Dugu Aoshuang instantly let out a cry of disbelief. If I agree to it, I will be fine. Instead, I will be taking a huge advantage. But to you, it is indeed incomparably unfair. Yang Dingtian said, I have always faintly felt that there will be a day when the scales on your body will fade away. You will undergo the nirvana of a phoenix, and you will become a woman as beautiful and radiant as Fengwu. When that time comes, there will be countless men who will go crazy for you. Therefore, if I agree to it now, it will be the greatest irresponsibility. Really, Big Brother Yen? Do you really think that the scales on my body will fade away? Fengwu asked with a trembling voice. I feel that it is so, Yang Dingtian said. Furthermore, after leaving the Temple of Blood, I will travel the world to cultivate. When that time comes, I will definitely work hard to find a way to let your scales fade away. Of course, I don't dare to say that I will definitely find it, but one should never give up hope at any time. Also, do not make any important decisions because of despair, alright? Shuang'e said with a gentle voice. But even if all the scales on my body fade away in the future, even if I am radiant in the future, my heart will never change. I will still love you. If that is the case, then you will be the luckiest man in the world. Yang Dingtian laughed and said, Shuang'e, how long did they say you have to live? 2 years. De Gaoshuang said. I don't believe it. I firmly believe that you will continue to live. Yang Dingtian said. Shuang'e, you said that you want me to become your Yen Nantian today. I cannot do it, but I can promise that no matter if I am able to find a way to let your scales fade away, I will definitely come back to see you once in 2 years. No matter how difficult it is, I will come back to see you once. Really? Shuang'e said happily. Of course, Yang Dingtian said. Shuang'e lowered her head and said softly, Then I have another request, Big Brother Yen. Yang Dingtian nodded. Kiss me once and let me feel what it is like, De Gaoshuang said. Then she raised her head and slowly closed her beautiful eyes. Half a minute later, De Gaoshuang left Yang Dingtian's embrace and said, All right, Big Brother Yen, your time is very tight. We need to immediately plan how to let you enter the blood pool to cultivate. Thank you, Shuang'e. Yang Dingtian said seriously. Big Brother Yen, you have given me the courage to continue living. I am willing to do anything for you. Shuang'e said gently. The blood pool is a few thousand meters below the mountain. It is the most dangerous place in the entire Temple of Blood. If one enters without the blood token, no matter who it is, they will definitely die. Is the blood pool heavily guarded? Yang Dingtian asked. It is not guarded at all. The stone door is wide open and there is no one guarding it, De Gaoshuang said. However, there is a fire demon violent lion inside. It is a 500-year-old demonic beast. Because it has absorbed a large amount of profound qi from the blood pool, it is already equivalent to a Grand Master. The entire blood pool is its territory. Unless one has the blood token, anyone who enters will be torn to pieces. The blood token is in your father's hands? Yang Dingtian asked. Yes. Moreover, it is impossible for you to obtain the blood token from him. Instead, it will arouse his suspicion, De Gaoshuang said. Yang Dingtian's scalp went numb. A Grand Master level demonic beast. Even Dongfang Minmi would have a headache if he came. Furthermore, demonic beasts were extremely possessive of their territories. Once they took half a step into their territory, they would definitely fight to the death. At Yang Dingtian's current level, even 10,000 of him wouldn't be able to withstand a single claw from the fire demon Violent Lion. Then is this fire demon Violent Lion closer to anyone in the Temple of Blood? Yang Dingtian immediately thought of Shimen Ningning, the genius beast speaker. No, De Gaoshuang said. It is gradually filled with hostility towards the people in the Temple of Blood. Furthermore, because it has absorbed the energy from the blood pool, it has become more and more violent. It always feels that the Temple of Blood has snatched its things. Therefore, many of the Temple of Blood's disciples don't dare to enter the blood pool even if they have the blood token. My father has even started to plan how to kill this fire demon Violent Lion. If he couldn't obtain the blood token, there would be no room for negotiation with this violent demonic beast. From the looks of it, it would be extremely difficult to enter the blood pool. It might even be impossible. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian thought of an idea. He had a 6th grade beast soul elixir on him, which had a fatal attraction to demonic beasts. Then, Yang Dingtian mixed Ningning's and Shimin Hui's blood into the beast's soul elixir and fed it to the fire demon Violent Lion. Although the deep-sea mystic poison and soul-devouring mystic qi in the blood were extremely thin, when mixed together, the toxicity should still be extremely shocking. As long as the fire demon Violent Lion ate this beast's soul elixir, it would at least temporarily lose its ability to attack. Therefore, Yang Dingtian mentioned this idea. However, he didn't mention the soul-devouring mystic qi and deep-sea mystic poison. He only said that it was an extremely mysterious and rare poison. Dugu Aoshuang shook her head and said, "It won't work. This fire demon Violent Lion feeds on the energy from the blood pool and doesn't eat anything else. Because no matter what it eats, it will harm its mystic qi cultivation." At this moment, Yang Dingtian was truly at his wit's end. "You have a 6th grade beast soul elixir?" Dugu Aoshuang suddenly asked. Yang Dingtian nodded. "Then maybe there's a way," Dugu Aoshuang said. "But it's still life-threatening. At least if you're not careful, you'll be torn into pieces." "What way?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Follow me, Brother Yen," Dugu Aoshuang said and ran out. Yang Dingtian quickly chased after her. It was 2 or 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Yang Dingtian walked out of Dugu Aoshuang's pavilion. It was dark outside and there were no stars or moons in the sky. There should be, but he didn't know why he couldn't see any stars or moons here. 10,000 meters below was the vast and boundless river of ecstasy. This was the back of the mountain of 10,000 blood, and it was extremely lonely. There was only a long mountain path and a lonely little building where Dugu Aoshuang lived. From this, it could be seen how much the temple of 10,000 blood rejected and feared Dugu Aoshuang. The two of them followed the rope and climbed down 1,000 meters, arriving at the entrance of a huge cave. Inside was a stone tunnel that was more than 10 meters high and wide. "Brother Yen, follow this tunnel and walk to the deepest part. That's your destination, the blood pool," Dugu Aoshuang said. Yang Dingtian said, "Shuanger, what's your plan? Tell me now." Dugu Aoshuang pointed at the river of ecstasy and said, "Brother Yen, in the river of ecstasy, there's also an extremely powerful demonic beast. Although it's slightly weaker than the fire demon Violent Lion, it's about the same. It's the lord of the entire 100 miles of ecstasy." And then?" Yang Dingtian asked. Dugu Aoshuang said, "This 8-headed demon Flood Dragon and the fire demon Violent Lion have a deep grudge. Back then, these two demonic beasts fought over the blood pool. In the end, the 8-headed demon Flood Dragon was defeated and lived in the river of ecstasy with hatred. However, it still covets the blood pool. We can use the beast soul elixir to lure the 8-headed demon Flood Dragon to the vicinity of the blood pool. This way, the fire demon Violent Lion will think that the 8-headed demon Flood Dragon is here to fight for its territory. It will definitely lose its mind and charge out. This way, the two demonic beasts will kill each other. You can use this opportunity to enter the blood pool to cultivate as soon as possible." Then Dugu Aoshuang said, "But Brother Yen, this method is still extremely dangerous. If there's even the slightest mistake, you'll lose your life." "That's right. This plan was extremely risky. Firstly, it was uncertain whether the 8-headed demon Flood Dragon would be attracted by the grade 6 beast soul elixir. Even if it was attracted, it might just charge up and eat the beast soul elixir and Yang Dingtian together. Also, it was still unknown whether these two demonic beasts would kill each other. Even if everything went smoothly, Yang Dingtian would enter the depths of the blood pool to cultivate. Then, by the time he exited the blood pool, the fire demon Violent Lion might have already won and returned to its cave. If it discovered his existence, it would immediately tear him to pieces. In short, according to this plan, Yang Dingtian's life would be in great danger. There's nothing else I can do. Let's go all out. Yang Dingtian gritted his teeth and said. At this moment, there were still 65 hours before the duel with Qin Xiaobai. Chapter 110. Yang Dingtian said. No, I want to go with you. Dugu Aoshuang said. There's no room for discussion. Yang Dingtian said resolutely. If I successfully break through in the blood pool and don't die at the hands of these two beasts, no matter how dangerous the situation is, I will definitely come back to see you again. If I don't come back, it means that I'm dead. Du Gaoxuang's beautiful eyes reddened. No, you must come back, Yang Dingtian said. Okay, I will definitely come back. Then you should obediently go back and wait for me. You are useless by my side. Even if there is danger, I will have to divert my attention to protect you. After saying that, Yang Dingtian pushed Du Gaoxuang up. Du Gaoxuang's eyes reddened. She said softly, Okay, then I will wait for you in the small building. Big Brother Yan, you must be careful. Then she grabbed the rope and climbed up, returning to her small building a few thousand meters away. Yang Dingtian looked down at the dark Rapture River. The extremely dangerous demonic beast, the eight-headed demon flood dragon, resided below. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and suppressed his nervous emotions. He took out the 6th grade beast soul elixir from his spatial ring and shook it gently in the air. Although they were 10,000 meters apart, the eight-headed demon snake could still clearly smell the fragrance. In the beginning, the river of ecstasy was still without ripples, but Yang Dingtian was already running towards the cave. He had to run towards the blood pool before the eight-headed demon snake discovered Yang Dingtian. Once it saw him, he would definitely die without a burial place. Yang Dingtian ran quickly, following the huge stone path towards the blood pool at the center of the mountain. At this time, an incomparably huge monster silently emerged from the river of ecstasy. It had a total of 8 heads and 16 eyes, and each head was different. Some had a snake-like face, while others had a human-like face. The bigger ones had a diameter of 2 to 3 meters, while the smaller ones only had a diameter of a foot. This monster quickly swam along the mountain of 10,000 blood, revealing its incomparably huge and astonishing body. 20 meters, 30 meters, 40 meters, 50 meters, when its body finally emerged from the water, it was more than 100 meters long. It had a snake-like body with 4 legs and a diameter of nearly 10 meters. This was the 8-headed demon flood dragon, a powerful demonic beast that had cultivated for several hundred years and was close to the great grandmaster level. The 8-headed demon serpent quickly swam through the air. It covered a distance of almost 10,000 meters in an instant. Its enormous body entered the cave that led to the pool of blood. Yang Dingtian had just run 2 kilometers when he suddenly felt a tremor in the stone tunnel. Then, a strong airflow suddenly pressed against his back. It was obvious that a huge creature had drilled into the cave. Then, a strong wind with a fishy stench blew past, pushing Yang Dingtian forward. It was very obvious that the giant creature was swimming rapidly and was getting closer and closer to Yang Dingtian and Shuiyu. He couldn't let it see him. Otherwise, Yang Dingtian wouldn't be enough to fill the gaps between the 8-headed demon serpent's teeth. Yang Dingtian's speed became faster and faster. In the end, he was running wildly. The wind behind him became stronger and stronger, and the sound behind him became louder and louder. The entire stone tunnel began to tremble, and the fishy stench became more and more intense. Go, 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 quick, quick, quick! He was almost there. He was almost at the pool of blood. 2 kilometers to go. 1 kilometer, 500 meters, 300 meters. Yang Dingtian could already see the entrance to the pool of blood. The inside of the enormous stone door was filled with bright light. Even from a few hundred meters away, Yang Dingtian could clearly feel a trace of violent energy inside. This was the pool of blood. The cave here had also become incomparably huge. It was over 100 meters tall. The enormous stone door of the pool of blood was completely white. However, upon closer inspection, he realized that this white color wasn't natural at all. Instead, it was inlaid with countless bones and skeletons. The majority of them were human, and a small portion of them were demonic beast skulls. Just the entrance to the pool of blood left behind countless bones. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's hair stood on end. He felt a chill. At this moment, the incomparably powerful 8-headed demon serpent was only a few hundred meters away. Yang Dingtian could already clearly feel its powerful aura. I can't run. I can't let it see me. I have to hide immediately. At this moment, he was only a few hundred meters away from the entrance to the pool of blood. However, Yang Ditian resisted the temptation of approaching the pool of blood and hid in a small cave in the corner. Then, he grabbed the beast soul pill and threw it at the entrance of the pool of blood. He threw it exactly 90 meters away. It was still outside the range of the entrance, but it was close enough. As expected, just as Yang Dingtian hid, the incomparably huge 8-headed demon serpent turned a corner and instantly appeared before Yang Dingtian's eyes. So big, so terrifying, so dangerous. Yang Dingtian sighed inwardly. The 8-headed demon serpent moved too quickly. A fishy gust of wind blew past, making it difficult for Yang Dingtian to open his eyes. It was like a huge train was quickly passing through a tunnel. However, Yang Dingtian discovered that this so-called 8-headed demon serpent wasn't a true serpent. It was only a type of sea serpent demonic beast. Although a serpent wasn't a dragon, it was a close relative of a dragon. It also had horns on its head. However, the 8-headed demon serpent before him didn't have any horns on its head. Even so, the 8-headed demon serpent was still an extremely powerful demonic beast. In particular, it had lived under the Rapture River for a long time, allowing it to possess power close to that of a great Grand Master. The 8-headed demon serpent stared greedily at the grade 6 beast soul pill. It immediately wanted to charge forward and swallow the beast soul pill. However, all of a sudden, it stopped moving like a train braking. That was because it discovered that the entrance to the pool of blood was not too far away. Naturally, this place was deeply engraved in its heart. It also knew that its old enemy lived there. Immediately, the 8-headed demon serpent's eyes shone with a blood-red light. Fresh hatred surged into its heart. Its entire body was filled with a bloodthirsty desire. It was as if it would charge through the entrance and fight the fire demon lion to the death in the next moment to take back the pool of blood. Go, go, go quickly! Yang Dingtian said to himself anxiously. However, he didn't expect the 8-headed demon serpent to actually lower its head after its anger subsided. Then, it abruptly looked at Yang Dingtian's hiding spot with icy cold killing intent. It easily knew where Yang Dingtian was hiding. It had actually vented its anger on Yang Dingtian. Clearly, it already knew that this was all part of Yang Dingtian's plan. He had used the grade 6 beast soul pill to lure it into a fight with the fire demon lion. Immediately afterwards, the 8-headed demon serpent stared at Yang Dingtian with its 8 ugly heads. The barbs on its neck suddenly stood up and its 16 eyes shone with a sinister light. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's hairs stood on end. It was truly chilling. This was different from the Millennium Owl. Back then, the Millennium Owl had been trapped and was unable to truly kill Yang Dingtian. However, after the Millennium Owl had escaped, it had completely lost its mind. It was only focused on causing destruction and had completely forgotten about Yang Dingtian who was riding on its back. However, the 8-headed demon serpent before him was clear-headed and callous. It immediately wanted to tear Yang Dingtian to pieces. The 8-headed demon serpent's head in the middle slowly opened its mouth and spat out its terrifying tongue. A fiery red energy was brewing in its mouth, and it was about to spit it at Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian tightly grasped the Millennium Owl's strange blade on his back and slowly pulled it out. Roar! Suddenly, a deafening sound rang out from within the cave. Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt as though his eardrums were about to be pierced. His entire head felt as though it was about to explode. The entire cave began to shake. This was the fire demon lion's furious roar. It was a roar filled with provocation and disdain. The fire demon lion was berserk and proud. The 8-headed demon serpent was indeed sinister and cruel. It was unwilling to be tricked by Yang Dingtian, so it stopped in front of the blood pool, indicating that it would not invade the fire demon lion's territory. However, the fire demon lion did not show any gratitude. Instead, it let out a provocative and disdainful roar. Immediately after, a dazzling ball of light suddenly rushed out. This was the fire demon lion. It was like a small mountain, more than 20 meters tall and more than 50 meters long. Its entire body was emitting blood-red flames. It directly arrived at the entrance of the blood pool. It raised its head and roared like a king. Then, it raised its head and puffed out its chest as it looked at the 8-headed demon serpent with contempt, and ordered it to get out of its territory immediately. Instantly, the 8-headed demon serpent was furious. I didn't enter the blood pool because I didn't want to be tricked by humans. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? You snatched my blood pool and injured me. Now you're still acting so domineering here? You've gone too far. Instantly, the 8-headed demon serpent threw Yang Dingtian to the back of its mind. It raised its 8 heads toward the fire demon lion and lifted its body higher and higher. In the end, its head reached the top of the cave and reached a height of more than 100 meters. Hiss hiss. The 8 heads spat out blood-red tongues at the same time and let out a terrifying and sharp hiss. The flames on the fire demon lion's body rose another 2 to 3 meters. It roared furiously at the 8-headed demon serpent, warning it to get out of here immediately. The 8-headed demon serpent opened its mouth and roared as well. If it retreated now, it would be too ashamed to face anyone. However, it really didn't want to fight the fire demon lion for no reason. After all, this was a human scheme. It wouldn't be worth it if both sides suffered because of this. Now, the 8-headed demon serpent wanted to bluff and confront the fire demon lion. Then, it would attract the master stage experts of the Temple of Blood and mediate between the two beasts. This way, even if the 8-headed demon serpent retreated back to the Ecstasy River, it would have a way out and show that it wasn't afraid of the fire demon lion. It was just giving face to the Temple of Blood. When it retreated back to the Ecstasy River, the 8-headed demon serpent decided that it would definitely make the Temple of Blood hand over that detestable human. It would definitely use the most terrifying methods to torture that human to death. Roar! Seeing that the 8-headed demon serpent didn't retreat, and even provoked it, the fire demon lion was instantly enraged. How dare a loser like you be so arrogant? After a series of furious roars, the fire demon lion charged out ferociously and bit at the 8-headed demon serpent. The 8-headed demon serpent was shocked. It knew that the fire demon lion was a hot-tempered creature, but it didn't expect it to be so hot-tempered. It couldn't even take a little provocation and went all out. If it had known this would happen, it would have retreated. There was no need to argue with such an idiot. However, it was too late for regrets now. The fire demon lion came straight up to take its life. Roar! After a roar, its huge claws flickered with blue flames and slashed at the 8-headed demon serpent. When the claws slashed through the air, there was a flash of intense blue light and a series of sonic booms. The lightning-like blue light was the energy of profound energy. The sonic booms were because the speed was too fast, exceeding the speed of sound. The speed of the claws was simply too fast. The 8-headed demon serpent's body was too long and too big, so it was completely unable to dodge. It looked like the demon serpent's body was about to be sliced apart. Hiss! With a sharp hiss, a blue light flashed, and the 8-headed demon serpent shrunk rapidly. In an instant, it was only a dozen meters long and 1 to 2 meters thick. It quickly dodged the fire demon lion's fatal attack. Boom! The fire demon lion's claws fiercely struck the stone wall. The incomparably hard stone wall was instantly torn apart like tofu, creating a hole that was dozens of meters deep. Then, the 8-headed demon serpent's body suddenly expanded. Its thick tail was like a huge whip as it fiercely swung. Slap! The tail fiercely swung at the fire demon lion's abdomen. With a loud sound, the mountain-like fire demon lion was directly thrown a few hundred meters away. It fiercely smashed into the cave wall. Rumble! Immediately, a deep hole that was a few hundred meters in diameter was smashed into the incomparably hard stone wall. The entire cave shook and a crack that was a few thousand meters deep opened up. Pff! The fire demon lion spat out countless flames that splashed onto the stone wall. Like countless missiles, it blasted holes in the stone wall. These flames were the fire demon lion's blood. This fire demon lion was originally stronger than the 8-headed demon serpent, but it had a violent temperament. On the other hand, the 8-headed demon serpent was sinister and cunning. Therefore, the fire demon lion was actually at a disadvantage in the first move. After succeeding in one move, the eight-headed demon serpent raised its head and revealed a complacent sneer at the fire demon lion. Then, it quickly retreated. It actually wanted to stop the fight and leave. It wanted to leave when it had the upper hand. This way, it would definitely not lose face. It would also prevent itself from being at a disadvantage when it got tangled up in the fight. However, the fire demon lion was unwilling. It suddenly stood up and roared at the sky. The flames on its body suddenly rose to a height of 3 zhang, turning from a fiery red color to a blood-red color. Then, its body began to swell, from 12 meters in height, to 20 meters in height, to 30 meters in height. The eight-headed demon serpent was shocked. This was a fight to the death. Why was this fire demon lion so easily provoked? After suffering a small loss, it immediately entered a berserk state. Any demonic beast could enter a berserk state. Once it entered a berserk state, its combat power would instantly skyrocket. However, after the fight, the demonic beast would enter a long period of weakness. Some would enter a year or 2, while others would enter a period of 3 to 4 years. Therefore, as long as it entered a berserk state, it meant that one of the demonic beasts had to fall in the battle. In today's battle, either the lion or the serpent would die. The eight-headed demon serpent was instantly frightened. Its sneak attack had succeeded because it was smarter. In terms of cultivation, it was inferior to the fire demon lion. One had to know that the fire demon violent lion was so hot-tempered that it would definitely not launch a sneak attack, nor would it try to gain the upper hand. It would rather be tipped and run away in shame. At least this way, it would not be in danger of losing its life. Now, the fire demon violent lion was definitely going to kill it. Lion King, I have no intention of offending you. This is all part of that human scheme. He used a 6th-grade beast soul pill to lure me here. I have no intention of offending your territory. I will leave now. I will leave right now. I will never step into your territory for the rest of my life. This beast soul pill and this human will be my filial piety to you. The eight-headed demon serpent hurriedly begged for mercy. However, the fire demon lion who had entered a berserk state did not care so much. Its body continued to expand. When it expanded to a height of 50 meters and a length of 200 to 300 meters, it really looked like a flaming mountain. Roar! A berserk lion roar sounded. Endless flames suddenly shot out. It was as if they were going to roast everything in the cave. The entire cave was immediately as bright as day. Boom! Like a volcanic eruption, the fire demon lion charged toward the eight-headed demon serpent. It's a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. Your Majesty, I will cut off one of my heads. How about you let me go? There is no need for both of us to suffer. The eight-headed demon serpent begged for mercy with all its might. Boom! The fire demon lion opened its mouth and spat. With surging energy, the raging flames violently bombarded the eight-headed demon serpent. The eight-headed demon serpent was shocked. It quickly shrank and dodged. Rumble. The flames suddenly exploded beside the eight-headed demon serpent. With a loud explosion, the heavens and earth shook. Countless boulders broke and fell. Even though the eight-headed demon serpent managed to dodge the fatal blow, it was still blasted several hundred meters away. Its body was riddled with holes. Countless scales were torn open. Immediately it was dripping with blood. Fire demon lion, you idiot! The eight-headed demon serpent cursed. However, in the face of the berserk fire demon lion, it really did not dare to face it head-on. Immediately it used up all its energy and quickly fled out of the cave. Even if it was going to lose face, it could not care less. As long as it rushed into the Rapture River, it would be safe. Even if it wanted to fight to the death, it would have to do it in its own territory. Only then would it have a chance of winning. Of course, doing so would benefit Yang Dingtian. However, the eight-headed demon serpent's life was more important. It could not care less. Sure enough, seeing the eight-headed demon serpent flee, the fire demon lion did not hesitate. It immediately rushed out and chased after the 8-headed demon serpent. It completely forgot about its blood pool. In the blink of an eye, the two incomparably powerful demonic beasts disappeared without a trace. Only a messy battlefield was left behind. The stone walls were as hard as iron. On Earth, even dozens of missiles would not be able to cause such great damage. However, the two powerful demonic beasts, in just 2 moves, had almost destroyed a large part of the several thousand meters long cave. However, at that moment Yang Dingtian could not care less. If he did not enter the blood pool now, when would he? Thus, he came out from his hiding place and rushed toward the entrance of the blood pool. When he was 10 meters away from the entrance, Yang Dingtian picked up the grade 6 beast soul elixir on the ground and put it into his spatial ring. Then, he quickly rushed into the entrance of the blood pool. The cave where the pool of 10,000 blood was located was different from the cave outside. All the rocks inside were blood red in color. None of the stone walls were smooth and smooth. Instead, they were ferocious and sharp, causing the entire cave of the pool of 10,000 blood to look sinister and terrifying. The entire cave was extremely large. It was at least tens of thousands of square meters. However, the blood pool was very small. It was only about 20 meters in diameter. It was located between a pile of blood-red stones. Because the water of the pool was also blood-red. Above the pool, there was smoke rising in spirals. Furthermore, it was blood-red smoke. Even if there was no wind, the blood-red smoke was swaying and dancing, twisting into a strange scene. It was as if there were countless departed souls narrating and countless malicious spirits crying. The entire cave was blood-red. It was as if it was the depths of hell. That's right. It was hell. No one had ever been to hell. However, Yang Dingtian felt that this place was too similar to hell. Yang Dingtian traveled tens of thousands of miles, put in a lot of effort, and risked his life just for this blood-red pool in front of him. He also clearly knew how powerful the energy in this small pool was. The blood-red color on the stone walls was all dyed red by this small pool. How was the blood pool formed? No one knew. However, it definitely had a much earlier history than the Temple of Blood. The blood pool came first, followed by the Temple of Blood. According to many people's speculations, it should have been formed during the Great Nirvana period. When the Temple of Blood took control of the blood pool, they wanted to emphasize the ownership of the blood pool. Therefore, they spread a rumor that the experts of the Temple of Blood who were martial honorables and above had to disperse their energy into the blood pool before they died. What was the truth? It was unknown whether the energy of the experts of the Temple of Blood was useful in maintaining the blood pool. However, this strongly hinted to the outside world that the blood pool was maintained by the experts of the Temple of Blood with their lives. Therefore, the blood pool belonged to the Temple of Blood and was sacred and inviolable. When Yang Dingtian approached the 10,000 blood pool, or even when he had just stepped through the door, he could feel a surge of vast and boundless energy. It was extremely vigorous and endless. Yang Dingtian walked step by step towards the blood pool. Less than 1 in 10 people of the Temple of Blood could cultivate in the blood pool. Once they entered the blood pool, an extremely tyrannical and powerful energy would surge into their bodies. Those with insufficient profound meridians would instantly die from their profound meridians collapsing. There were even some people who felt extreme pain when they approached the blood pool. They felt like they could not breathe and their meridians were about to rupture. The blood pool was in the shape of a typical funnel. It was wide at the top and narrow at the bottom. It was so deep that one could not see the bottom. However, up until now, only the 5th level had been cultivated. No one knew how many levels there were. 80% of the elite disciples who could cultivate in the blood pool could only cultivate on the 1st level. About 15% of them could cultivate on the 2nd level and 5% could cultivate on the 3rd level. There were only a handful of Temple of 10,000 Bloods past generations who could cultivate on the 4th level. As for those who could cultivate on the 5th level, there were probably only 1 or 2 in the 1,000 years of the Temple of Blood's history. Without a doubt, the deeper one went into the blood pool, the more tyrannical and dense the energy and the more shocking the effects of cultivation. However, At the same time, the deeper the level, the higher the requirement for the cultivator's talent and profound meridians. If one did not have enough talent, their meridians would probably be torn apart by the blood pool's powerful energy the moment they entered. Yang Dingtian's talent was extremely high. However, Yang Dingtian did not know how deep he could go because he was only a 9-star profound martial artist. The level of profound qi in his body was too low, and he might not be able to withstand the blood pool's powerful energy. I have suffered untold hardships to come here. Can I break through? How much can I break through? It all depends on this time, Yang Dingtian thought to himself. He then took off his clothes and hid before jumping into the blood pool. Instantly, an extremely powerful energy surged over like an endless tide and slammed against every inch of Yang Dingtian's skin and meridians. Chapter 111. Yang Dingtian finally understood why profound martial artists with low talent and weak profound veins could not enter the 10,000 blood pool. For example, the 10,000 blood pool was like a reservoir with a very high water level that was blocked by a dam. Those who cultivated in the 10,000 blood pool were like the dry land under the dam, and the profound veins were like the river on the land. When the energy from the 10,000 blood pool entered the human body, it was as if the dam had been opened and countless amounts of water crazily poured in. If the ditch was deep and wide enough, it could still contain the water that poured in. If the ditch was narrow and shallow, not only would the surging water destroy the ditch, it would also completely submerge the land. At this moment, he was only at the first level and Yang Dingtian already felt his body boiling. Countless amounts of energy poured in and his body was like a balloon being blown up. At this moment, as long as Yang Dingtian chanted the chant, he would be able to use the endless profound energy for his own use. The first level of the 10,000 blood pool was definitely the safest. However, if he wanted to break through at the fastest speed and break through more, he would need to enter the deeper levels of the 10,000 blood pool. However, Yang Dingtian already felt as if raging waves were beating against the shore at the first level. The deeper he went, the more dangerous and painful it would be. The elite disciples of the 10,000 blood pool cultivated in the first level. Of course, their talent was definitely not as good as Yang Dingtian's. However, when they cultivated in the 10,000 blood pool, their profound energy cultivation was definitely higher than Yang Dingtian's. Therefore, their profound veins were also tougher. Those who could cultivate in the second level were at least profound martial artists. Those who could cultivate in the third level were at least martial ancestor realm. Those who could cultivate in the fourth level were at least martial honorable realm experts. Furthermore, they had to have profound veins of at least the 8th grade and above. Therefore, the fourth level of the 10,000 blood pool was a qualitative leap. Therefore, there were only a few people who could cultivate in the fourth level. If one did not have the ability but forcefully cultivated in the deeper levels, they would only explode and die. According to Yang Dingtian's profound energy cultivation, it was very difficult for him to cultivate in the first level. This was because the first floor required one to be at least a mystic martial master to enter. Yang Dingtian was still 10 levels away from that. I'll just challenge the limit, Yang Dingtian thought to himself. Then, he suddenly dove down. It kept going down, down, and down, 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, the first level of the 10,000 blood pool was 10 meters deep. The deeper he went, the narrower the diameter of the blood pool. Strangely enough, the deeper he went, the lighter the color of the blood pool became. The top layer of the 10,000 blood pool was so red that it was almost black. At the bottom of the first layer, it was already bright red. Boom! Yang Dingtian broke into the second floor. Suddenly, an incomparably powerful energy fiercely attacked him. He only saw a golden light in front of him, and he almost suffocated and fainted. The energy of the second level was several times stronger than that of the first level. Caught off guard, Yang Dingtian was nearly sent flying by the attack. Suddenly, he felt that his entire body was no longer his. It was as if his limbs had been completely torn apart. The second level seemed to be his limit. At the very least, Yang Dingtian was in extreme pain and struggling to hold on. Should I cultivate on the second level and circulate the incantation? Yang Dingtian thought to himself. However, he felt a wave of unwillingness. He had worked so hard to come here. Moreover, this might be the only chance in his life to cultivate in the blood pool. He was really unwilling to only cultivate on the second level. Most importantly, Yang Dingtian wanted to test his limit. Thus Yang Dingtian dove down again. So painful, so uncomfortable, Yang Dingtian felt his body constantly expanding. The skin on his body seemed to be cracking inch by inch. 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, the second level was only about 8 meters deep. Yang Dingtian suddenly crossed the second level and entered the third level. Bang! Yang Dingtian felt a loud bang in his head. Then, he smelled the scent of blood. He was bleeding. Blood kept flowing out of his nostrils, ears, and mouth. Blood was oozing out of every pore on his body. However, he could no longer feel the pain. His entire body had lost all feeling. It was as if this body was no longer his. This was the most dangerous part. Because no matter how painful it was, he was still conscious. This way, he could still control his body and roughly know what would happen next. Even if his body was about to explode, he could still feel it. However, once his body lost all feeling, it was too dangerous. It was entirely possible that his body would explode at any moment, and he would die without any mental preparation. Therefore, the third level of the 10,000 blood pools should be Yang Dingtian's limit. This was already very, very difficult. After all, Yang Dingtian was only a 9-star Xian martial artist. The third level required at least a martial ancestor realm expert to enter. It was already a miracle that Yang Dingtian could enter the third level. Yang Dingtian took a final look at the pool water. The third level of the 10,000 blood pool was only around 4 to 5 meters in diameter. The blood-red color of the pool water was already very faint. It was as if a small cup of blood was poured into a bucket of clear water. The pool water was already almost transparent. He slowly closed his eyes and prepared to circulate the chant of the pig's slaying sword art. He started to absorb and refine the mystic chi energy here. Even though Yang Dingtian still wanted to enter the fourth level, he wasn't a lunatic. He wouldn't let himself die in this 10,000 blood pool. Furthermore, the third level should be enough for him to break through. Yang Dingtian's goal was to break through to the Xian martial warrior realm. Just as Yang Dingtian closed his eyes, he suddenly saw a person. She was around 4 to 3 meters below him. A completely naked woman was floating in the clear and transparent pool of blood. She was like the most perfect sculpture on earth. She was motionless, and only her long hair was dancing in the pool. Duge Fengwu. It was actually the demonic woman, Duge Fengwu. Even though he was in the 10,000 blood pool, Yang Dingtian's body trembled violently. He didn't think that the demonic woman, Duge Fengwu, would actually be in the 10,000 blood pool. In an instant, Yang Dingtian's entire body felt cold. This demonic woman was vicious and merciless. If she discovered Yang Dingtian, she would probably kill him immediately. Yang Dingtian suddenly had an impulse to rush out of the 10,000 blood pool. However, he quickly realized that Duge Fengwu had her eyes closed and seemed to be completely immersed in cultivation. It was as though she didn't know anything about the outside world. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but let out a long breath. However, there was still a huge problem because Duge Fengwu might wake up at any moment. As long as she woke up and saw Yang Dingtian, she would definitely kill him immediately. If Yang Dingtian were to leave the 10,000 blood pool now, he wouldn't be killed by Duge Fengwu. However, he had put in so much effort to reach the 10,000 blood pool. He was truly unwilling to leave just like that. In that case, there was another way, and that was to continue diving deeper into the blood pool. Right now, Duge Fengwu was in between the third and fourth level. Yang Dingtian was going to dive into the fourth level directly. Furthermore, the fourth level was completely golden and could block Yang Dingtian's figure. He might not be discovered by Duge Fengwu. However, the fourth level had already exceeded the limits of what Yang Dingtian could endure. Once he dived in, there was a 90% chance that he would explode and die. If he didn't dive down, Dugufengwu would definitely wake up and die. Yang Dingtian wasn't willing to be killed by Dugufengwu, but he wasn't willing to give up either. Perhaps the heavens want me to enter the 4th level? Yang Dingtian thought in his heart. Gritting his teeth, Yang Dingtian said in his heart, Master, I want to enter the 4th level of the 10,000 blood pool. My body has already lost all feeling. Help me observe my body. Once my body is about to explode, inform me immediately. Then it might already be too late. Dongfang Minmi said. Right now, the energy outside is already crazily squeezing my soul spirit. Child, you were able to enter the 3rd level because of your terrifying 9 young mystic meridians. However, your cultivation is still too low. If you forcefully enter the 4th level, you might really turn into ashes. Yang Dingtian replied. As long as you give me a warning, I will return immediately. Afterward, Yang Dingtian continued diving. At this moment, he couldn't feel any pain because his body didn't feel like it was his anymore. However, the muscles on his body were already in a terrible state. There were countless cracks, and fresh blood was gushing out from every part of his body. It was truly critical, and he was going to explode and die in the blink of an eye. The 4th level of the 10,000 blood pool was right in front of him. The 4th level was completely different from the previous level. Its water was completely golden and was even emitting light. It was extremely beautiful and enchanting. Yang Dingtian was sure that this wasn't blood but pure energy liquid. The 10,000 blood pool below the 4th level was the real 10,000 blood pool. It was the real energy pool. The upper 3 layers were only filled with the liquid energy. Rush in! There was a 99% chance that he would turn into ashes and die. It was instantaneous. Even if his master Dongfang Minmi wanted to warn him, it would be too late. Don't enter? At this moment, he was already at the entrance. He was just 1 step away. He was really unwilling. Go all out. Yang Dingtian roared in his heart and rushed down. Boom! A golden light appeared in front of his eyes. Yang Dingtian instantly lost all his senses. His entire body and soul seemed to have disappeared without a trace in an instant. After an unknown amount of time, or perhaps it was only a moment, all of his consciousness gradually returned to Yang Dingtian's body. Yang Dingtian regained his vision and consciousness. So comfortable. Compared to the first 3 levels of the 10,000 blood pool, this is heaven. His body that was completely numb earlier had returned. Yang Dingtian felt extremely comfortable. It was as though he was bathing under the sun. It was warm and comfortable. Every pore in his body was breathing freely. His originally mangled body was now completely refreshed. The 4th level of the 10,000 blood pool was pure energy liquid. There wasn't any pressure or forceful irrigation. There was no danger of exploding. It wasn't like the first 3 levels. It didn't matter if one accepted it or not. Incomparably powerful energy would surge out. Therefore, those with weak mystic meridians would immediately explode. Even Yang Dingtian was only 1 step away from exploding. His body was filled with countless wounds, and fresh blood was gushing out. The 4th level didn't have any requirements for the cultivator's mystic chi grade. The only requirement was the cultivator's talent and mystic meridians. Only those who could withstand the violent energy of the first 3 levels would be able to enter the 4th level and enter the real 10,000 blood pool. However, it was slightly awkward that half of Dugufengwu's body was in the 3rd level, and the other half was in the 4th level. Therefore, the extremely beautiful Dugufengwu was floating above Yang Dingtian's head. Even though Yang Dingtian was trying his best to restrain himself, he couldn't help but take a look. In an instant, he felt his entire heart and body trembling. This woman might be ruthless, but her beauty was on the same level as Dongfang Bingling. However, this was a demon woman who killed without batting an eyelid. It was best to stay as far away as possible. Therefore, Yang Dingtian desperately dove down until he reached the deepest part of the 4th level of the 10,000 blood pool. Below the 4th level was the 5th level, the last level of the 10,000 blood pool. At this moment, Yang Dingtian felt that it wasn't safe to be in the same place as Dugu Fengwu on the 4th level. If Dugu Fengwu woke up earlier than him, while he was cultivating, she might still discover Yang Dingtian in the pool. By then, Yang Dingtian would still lose his life. Therefore, in order to be absolutely safe, he had to dive into the 5th level, the 5th level of the 10,000 blood pool. Furthermore, the 5th level contained the strongest energy of the 10,000 blood pool. Yang Dingtian's heart was filled with anticipation. Furthermore, Dugu Fengwu shouldn't be able to enter the 5th level. Therefore, it would be very safe for him to wash his face on the 5th level. The 5th level of the 10,000 blood pool was completely colorless and pure. It was purer and more transparent than any other water in the world. This was the only way to survive from the jaws of death. Yang Dingtian gritted his teeth and rushed into the 5th level of the 10,000 blood pool. It was a layer of pure golden liquid. It wasn't transparent, but it was extremely beautiful and intoxicating. Boom! Before Yang Dingtian could rush in, an extremely powerful force burst out and pushed Yang Dingtian back a few meters. He couldn't enter the 5th level. Yang Dingtian tried many times, but he was mercilessly pushed out every time. Yang Dingtian was at his wit's end. He could only take the risk and cultivate on the 4th level with Dugu Fengwu. He could only pray that Dugu Fengwu wouldn't wake up so soon. Even if she did, she wouldn't discover Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and decided to cultivate at the bottom of the 4th level. As for his life, he would hand it over to the heavens. If the heavens wanted him to die, he would die. If the heavens wanted him to live, he would live. He slowly closed his eyes and sat cross-legged in the water. His mind entered a state of complete clarity, and he forgot everything. He forgot about this exceptional demon woman, Dugu Fengwu. He forgot about the danger of being killed at any moment. He forgot about the devil's den that was the Temple of Blood. He even forgot that Shimin Yanyan was still waiting for his rescue. He forgot everything and entered a state of cultivation and meditation. His entire mystic meridians and chi vessels circulated the chi refinement chant of the pig-slaying sword art. Boom! In an instant Yang Dingtian's heart felt as though there was a sun that exploded. The golden radiance engulfed and covered everything. From the inside to the outside, everything was enveloped by the golden radiance. Boundless mystic chi energy surged in from every pore of Yang Dingtian's body and flowed into countless meridians. It circulated rapidly and finally flowed into the chi vessel. For those with high innate talent, the mystic chi that entered the body would eventually flow into the chi vessel. For those with low innate talent, the mystic chi that entered the body would eventually flow into the chi vessel. The stronger the mystic meridians, the faster the mystic chi circulation and the greater the capacity of mystic chi. Every inch of the air between heaven and earth was filled with mystic chi energy. However, it was very thin, and only with this thin mystic chi could one truly absorb it for one's own use. The mystic chi energy in the blood pool was tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of times more concentrated than the outside world. Therefore, cultivating here for 15 minutes was equivalent to cultivating outside for more than half a year. However, its mystic chi energy was too tyrannical. Every time it entered the body, it would cause severe damage to the mystic meridians. Therefore, if there were no accidents and no one killed them, they could usually live up to 140 or 150 years old. As for the experts in the Temple of 10,000 Blood, it was difficult for them to live past 80 years old. This was because they relied too much on the blood pool. Cultivating in the blood pool was too destructive to their meridians. Therefore, unless it was a last resort, Yang Dingtian would never think of coming to the blood pool to break through quickly. The mystic chi circulation speed became faster and faster. Yang Dingtian had completely entered a state of selflessness. His muscles and bones seemed to have disappeared from his entire body. Only his meridians and chi vessel were left. His entire body had completely turned into an energy array that circulated rapidly. Yang Dingtian was a top genius with 9 young mystic meridians. The energy that flowed into his meridians and finally flowed into his chi vessel. It was 10 times more than ordinary people with high innate talent. Every time his mystic chi level broke through, his chi vessel would break through. Countless mystic chi flowed through his meridians and entered his chi vessel. His chi vessel was expanding and expanding. A breakthrough was a complete outburst. If it was an ordinary breakthrough, it would be a slow process without much danger. However, breaking through in the blood pool was fast and instantaneous. It could possibly cause the chi vessel to explode. Brewing. Expanding. Even though Yang Dingtian did not feel anything, he had already entered a state of selflessness. However, his body had already started to tremble. The muscles on his face started to distort abnormally, and the meridians on his body started to swell. It was not the feeling of a virtual bulge, but a real bulge. It was as though there was a mouse swimming rapidly in his meridians. This was the sign of a breakthrough. Of course, it was also an extremely dangerous sign. The mystic meridians were exploding and the chi vessel was exploding. Following that, Yang Dingtian's skin started to crack and more blood flowed out. The pores on Yang Dingtian's lower abdomen, where his chi vessel was, exploded and was dripping with blood. He had already reached the gates of hell and entered an irreversible process. Either he broke through or he was destroyed. Actually, if Yang Dingtian was on the first level or even the third level of the blood pool, it would not be so dangerous. However, he was on the fourth level. Only a martial saint with an 8th grade mystic meridian talent could be on the fourth level. Furthermore, he had broken through from the Xian martial warrior to the Xian martial warrior. This was the true gates of hell. Boom! Yang Dingtian's chi vessel flashed with a white light, and everything in his body instantly sank into nothingness. Note: I beg for a few monthly votes. Chapter 113. Right now, the fire demon Violet Lion was squatting by the shore of the blood pool and glaring at Yang Dingtian. It was unknown when it returned, and what was the result of the battle with the 8-headed demon Flood Dragon. Did it kill the 8-headed demon Flood Dragon, or was the battle stopped by the Temple of Blood? However, the 8-headed demon Flood Dragon was nowhere to be seen, and there was no one else in the Blood Cave. There was only this fire demon Violet Lion that was riddled with injuries. In order to fight with the 8-headed demon Flood Dragon, the fire demon Violet Lion had entered a berserk state. After the berserk state, there would be a long period of weakness. Right now, the fire demon Violet Lion was in a weakened state. However, the weakening of the fire demon Violet Lion didn't mean anything to Yang Dingtian. The fire demon Violet Lion that wasn't weakened was a great master expert, while the weakened fire demon Violet Lion was still close to a great master expert. With just one claw, it could easily destroy Yang Dingtian. This was the territory of the fire demon Violet Lion, and Yang Dingtian, an outsider, actually dared to barge in. It was definitely a path to death. The fire demon Violet Lion that was over a dozen meters tall was undoubtedly a massive creature to Yang Dingtian. Furthermore, its body was emitting terrifying flames. The fire demon Violet Lion used its claw to point at the clothes by the shore and then at Dugufengwu, who was in Yang Dingtian's arms. It meant for Jiang Yi to put her down because Dugufengwu was an entrant, and it couldn't kill her. Right now, Dugufengwu's entire body was submerged in the blood pool, and the fire demon Violet Lion couldn't see her body. Even if it could see her, it wouldn't be interested as it was only interested in lionesses. Yang Dingtian took the clothes and helped Dugufengwu wear them in the water. Afterward, the fire demon Violet Lion pointed at Dugufengwu, and then at the ground. Yang Dingtian placed Dugufengwu on the ground. After everything was done, the lantern-like eyes of the fire demon Violet Lion burst out with a fiery light. It slowly opened its mouth, and an extremely powerful flame energy was brewing in its mouth. It was going to blast at Yang Dingtian like a missile. Once he was hit, Yang Dingtian would definitely be turned into ashes, and not even a bone would be left behind. Moreover, there was no need to plead with the fire demon Violet Lion, because it would definitely not show any mercy. Damn it, he had finally escaped from this woman's demonic claws, and now he had fallen into the fiery claws of the fire demon Violent Lion. The price he had to pay for this breakthrough was too high. Yang Dingtian was not an idiot. He definitely would not directly block this terrifying attack, because it was completely impossible. The bombardment this time was from a Master Realm expert. It was impossible to resist it head-on. There was only one thing Yang Dingtian could do, and that was to escape. Running away was not shameful, especially when facing a powerful opponent like the fire demon Violent Lion. Moreover, it was a completely unreasonable and incomparably violent opponent. Bang! Yang Dingtian suddenly turned around and plunged into the depths of the pool of blood once more. He could only hope that the 10,000 blood pool could protect him and allow him to enter the first, second, third, and fourth levels. He hoped that the fire demon Violent Lion would not be able to enter the pool of blood. Perhaps it really would not be able to enter, because its body was simply too huge. Furthermore, the pool of blood should be enough to cushion and neutralize its terrifying attacks. Yang Dingtian quickly passed through the first level, the second level, and arrived at the third level of the pool of blood. Soon, he would enter the fourth level. Here, the fire demon Violent Lion's body should not be able to enter. As for how to escape the 10,000 blood cave after hiding in the fourth level of the pool of blood, that was not something Yang Dingtian should be thinking about right now. However, just as Yang Dingtian felt safe, the situation suddenly changed. Before Yang Dingtian could enter the fourth level of the pool of blood, an incomparably powerful force suddenly lifted Yang Dingtian up, and fiercely pulled him out of the pool of blood. It was as if a pair of incomparably huge hands had firmly grabbed him in the air, grabbing him in the air. Roar! The fire demon Violent Lion let out a low roar. It was actually able to grab Yang Dingtian out of the pool of blood. It was truly astonishingly powerful. It raised its sharp flaming claws, aimed at Yang Dingtian's head, and fiercely clawed down. It was a terrifying demonic beast. It was brutal and manic, and would definitely not show mercy with its claws. Of course, facing an ant-like human, it only used less than 10% of its strength. Whoosh! Yang Dingtian quickly took out the Night Owl huge sword from his spatial ring and used all his strength to fight. Even though he knew that he was completely different from the fire demon Violent Lion, dying without a fight was definitely not his style. Boom! A loud sound rang out. The fire demon Violent Lion's claws fiercely slapped the Night Owl huge sword. It originally thought that this ugly huge sword would instantly turn into a pile of mud, because its claws had already surpassed most of the metals in this world. They were harder, sharper, and not to mention that the claws were imbued with profound chi, which was absolutely indestructible. However, reality shocked the fire demon Violent Lion. The ugly giant sword was unscathed, but a crack had appeared on its own claw. How was this possible? Completely impossible? The fire demon Violent Lion had gone through countless battles, and its indestructible claws had never been damaged. This time, facing an ant-like human, its claws were actually damaged. Of course, Yang Dingtian was even more uncomfortable. When the fire demon Violent Lion's claws smashed onto the Night Owl huge sword, he instantly felt a powerful force pressing down on him like a mountain. The Night Owl huge sword in his hand flew out, and his entire body shook as he violently spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was in excruciating pain, especially his arms. It was as if they were instantly broken inch by inch and turned into powder. Of course, this was only what he felt. However, if the Night Owl huge sword did not fly out of his hands, then Yang Dingtian's entire body would be instantly crushed, and he would be crushed into a pile of meat paste. Even though this was only 10% of the fire demon Violent Lion's strength. With its claws injured, the fire demon Violent Lion was instantly infuriated and roared. Boom! Like an ultrasonic weapon, the fire demon Violent Lion's roar suddenly shook out a dazzling light, and directly cut off a huge piece of rock weighing hundreds of thousands of kilograms from the incomparably hard stone wall. At the same time, the huge rocks on the ground began to crack. This fire demon Violent Lion was actually so powerful. Yang Dingtian looked at all this in horror. After its angry demonstration, the fire demon Violet Lion looked at its injured claws. It was extremely angry. Yes, you're just an ant, but you've angered me. I'm going to use all my strength to turn you into a pile of meat paste in an instant. Only then will my hatred be appeased, the fire demon Violet Lion said in a low voice. Then, it raised its sharp claws high and slammed them down. The sharp claws tore through the air, bursting out a blue light. Like a bolt of lightning, it suddenly tore towards Yang Dingtian's chest, wanting to turn him into a pile of meat paste in an instant. That's right, Yang Dingtian was wearing the Deep Sea Xian robe. But it was useless. The Deep Sea Xian robe might be able to resist an expert who was more than 10 levels stronger than Yang Dingtian. However, it was too difficult to block a great Grandmaster Fire Demon Violet Lion. Even without any Xian Qi, the Fire Demon Violet Lion's claw was enough to shake Yang Dingtian to death with just its tyrannical strength. A treasure like the Deep Sea Xian robe was useless in front of a great Grandmaster, even if it was a great Grandmaster in his weakened state. Bang! The Fire Demon Violet Lion's claws directly pierced Yang Dingtian's chest. However, Yang Dingtian was not smashed into meat paste. He was not even injured at all. The Fire Demon Violet Lion's claws pressed against his chest. It was not that the Fire Demon Violet Lion showed mercy, but that it was blocked. However, it was not blocked by the Deep Sea Xian robe, but by something else. What is it? What are you wearing here? The Fire Demon Violet Lion struggled to speak. Even though it had cultivated for hundreds of years, it was still very difficult for it to speak the human language. Of course, it was still far from being able to transform into a human. Yang Dingtian suddenly thought of the teardrop pendant that Shimen Ningning had put on for him before he left. This was probably the most precious and mysterious thing that Shimen Ningning had. He did not expect this teardrop pendant to be so powerful that it could block the Fire Demon Violet Lion's shocking attack. Teardrop pendant? The Fire Demon Violet Lion crazily poured out its Xian Qi, wanting to completely tear Yang Dingtian into pieces. The flame-like fog burned on Yang Dingtian's chest. Suddenly, the teardrop pendant was faintly discernible, revealing its beautiful figure. Seeing the teardrop pendant's figure, the Fire Demon Violet Lion was completely petrified, as if it was struck by lightning. Disbelief, fear, worship, fear, horror. All of these emotions burst out from its eyes. I didn't see it, I didn't see it, I didn't see it. I ran to forget it. Suddenly, the Fire Demon Violet Lion roared, shouting, I didn't see it! More than 10 times, and these few words were very clear. Subsequently, it abruptly closed its eyes and swiftly fled without a trace. It rampaged all along the way and smashed countless enormous rocks into pieces, and it directly ran out of the myriad blood pool and left its territory. Even if a demonic beast gave up its own life, it would definitely not give up its territory. Just now, when the 8-headed demon Flood Dragon appeared a few dozen meters away from its territory, the Fire Demon Violet Lion rushed out to fight it to the death. But now, when the Fire Demon Violet Lion saw this teardrop pendant, it did not even want its own territory and directly ran away, unwilling to see this thing. What exactly was this teardrop pendant? It actually made a Grandmaster demonic beast run away. It clearly saw it, but desperately tried to forget it. What kind of magic did it have? Yang Dingtian reached out to feel the teardrop pendant, and immediately, it revealed its shape. It was beautiful, sparkling and translucent. But Yang Dingtian did not feel any energy, only a cold touch. There was no time to think about this. Time was running out, and he had to leave this place immediately. Yang Dingtian quickly ran out, but he suddenly thought of Dugu Fengwu and couldn't help but take a glance at the place where she was lying down. She was still unconscious, and there was a pile of clothes beside her. On the clothes was a token carved out of bone. This should be the 10,000 blood token. Only with this token could one enter the 10,000 blood pool to cultivate. After hesitating for a moment, Yang Dingtian went forward to carry her and took away all her clothes. He then quickly ran out of the cave. These few thousand meters of cave were in a complete mess. Every place was filled with blood, charred, and cracks. Countless boulders had collapsed, and it was obvious how intense the battle between the fire demon Violent Lion and the eight-headed demon Flood Dragon was. In the middle of the cave, Yang Dingtian saw the fire demon Violent Lion. It was lying on the ground, curled up into a ball, and constantly muttered, "I didn't see anything, I didn't see anything, I want to forget, I want to forget." At this moment, it didn't even feel Yang Dingtian's approach. "Hey! Yang Dingtian!" The fire demon Violent Lion suddenly stood up and turned around, instantly cracking the ceiling of the cave. Countless boulders fell on its body, but it didn't feel anything. It looked at Yang Dingtian with difficulty and spoke urgently in human language. "Quickly leave, quickly leave, quickly leave. Don't let me see you, quickly, quickly," Yang Dingtian said. "I want to ask you, don't say what you saw. I didn't see anything, I didn't see anything. I won't say it even if I die, I won't say it even if I die." The fire demon Violent Lion muttered to itself. Yang Dingtian nodded and continued to run out of the cave with Dugu Fengwu in his arms. At this moment, it was 58 hours before the life-and-death battle with Qin Xiaobai. Soon enough, Yang Dingtian left the giant cave and was about to climb up with a rope. But suddenly Yang Dingtian's movements stopped. He felt that something was amiss. That's right, something was amiss. The battle between the fire demon Violent Lion and the eight-headed demon Flood Dragon could be said to be world-shaking. Even though they were far away, how could the Temple of Blood's members not notice it? How could they not react? At this moment, there wasn't a single person on the stone path. There wasn't even a single person on the back of the mountain of blood. This was obviously abnormal. Could it be that the Temple of Blood didn't care about the battle between the fire demon Violent Lion and the eight-headed demon Flood Dragon? This was impossible. As such, Yang Dingtian carried Dugu Fengwu and walked a few hundred meters into the depths of the cave. He hid her temporarily in a secret place and covered her with his clothes. After hesitating for a moment, he took out the blood token from her clothes and kept it in his embrace. After doing all this, Yang Dingtian went out again and grabbed the rope to climb up. After climbing over 1,000 meters and making many turns, he arrived at Dugu Aoshuang's small building. Just as he took a step forward, Yang Dingtian stopped. By right, Dugu Aoshuang should be very anxious and should be waiting in the courtyard outside. However, the courtyard was empty. The small building was lit up with lights. Half a day has passed, and Yang Dingtian is still not here. He is either dead or has run away. He won't be coming. Suddenly, a voice entered Yang Dingtian's ears, causing his body to shiver. He felt a chill from the inside out. This was the voice of the Temple of Blood's master, Dugu Xiao. It was that devil's voice. Afterward, he saw a figure drawing out a sharp sword through the window and placing it across a woman's neck. This woman had a graceful figure and was none other than Dugu Aoshuang. "You are my daughter, but you betrayed the Temple of Blood. You betrayed your father for someone from a prestigious sect. Therefore, you have to die," the Temple of Blood's master said indifferently. "Of course, it is also because you are my daughter. Before I kill you to clean up the sect, I took pity on you and agreed to let you see him one last time before you die. However, he didn't come and won't come. Therefore, you can die in peace." It was no wonder that there was no one guarding the entire stone path. The Temple of Blood's master was waiting for Yang Dingtian here. There was no path to heaven and no door to hell. It would be fine if Yang Dingtian died in the Myriad Blood Cave. However, if he wanted to escape, he would have to seek Dugu Aoshuang's help. Therefore, the Temple of Blood's master was waiting here. Instantly, Yang Dingtian was faced with two choices. The first choice was to act as if nothing had happened and turn to leave. Putting aside whether he could escape, at the very least, he should not barge into the Temple of Blood's master's demonic claws. Even though Yang Dingtian had promised Dugu Aoshuang that as long as he didn't die, he would definitely look for her again. The second choice was to fulfill his promise to Dugu Aoshuang and ignore the terror of the Temple of Blood's master. He would walk into the small building and fall into his demonic claws once again. Yang Dingtian sighed in his heart and then said, Throw out a piece of clothing. I'm completely naked. It's very indecent. He made the second choice. Moreover, with Dugu Zhao's cultivation, he had already noticed Yang Dingtian the moment he walked out of the cave. Ah! Dugu Aoshuang cried out in surprise and was about to rush out. You're really back? Why did you come back? Run quickly, run quickly. Run as far as you can. Dugu Aoshuang screamed at Yang Dingtian. Get me a piece of clothing. Yang Dingtian said again. Dugu Aoshuang immediately burst into tears and turned to look for clothes for Yang Dingtian. She knew in her heart that it was impossible for Yang Dingtian to escape from under her father's nose. Immediately after, Dugu Aoshuang walked out with the clothes. Yang Dingtian realized that her face was covered with a veil and only her alluring curves could be seen. What should I do? What should I do? Dugu Aoshuang cried softly. You fool! You came here and saw my father. Why didn't you run? His sword is on your neck, Yang Dingtian said. He is just putting on an act for you. I am his daughter after all. He might not really do it, Dugu Aoshuang said. And if he really wanted to kill me, even if you appeared, he would still do it. Even if I didn't make a sound, how could I escape? I was still over 1,000 meters away from your small building, and he had already noticed me. Yang Dingtian said. The reason why your father is waiting for me here is because he doesn't put me in his eyes in terms of martial strength. He knows that even if I am able to walk out of the Blood Pool Cave alive, I will never be able to escape the Blood Mountain without your help. Then what should we do now? Dugu Aoshuang said. Why don't we do this? No matter what he says, you should agree to it first and completely compromise to preserve your life. When Dugu Fengwu returns, we might still have a chance of survival. Dugu Fengwu? Her beautiful face and body appeared in Yang Dingtian's mind again. However, this woman couldn't be counted on. The moment she woke up, she would definitely draw her sword and kill someone. Yang Dingtian nodded indifferently. After putting on his clothes, he walked inside. What Yang Dingtian needed to do next was to escape from Dugu Zhao's demonic claws in the shortest time possible, take out the Temple of Blood, and return to the Cloud Heaven City. He wasn't confident, but he had to do it. Even though he had the ultimate secret weapon, which was the teardrop accessory that made the fire demon Violent Lion tremble in fear, it should still be effective against Dugu Zhao. However, unless Dugu Zhao wanted to kill him immediately, Yang Dingtian definitely wouldn't use it. There were still around 57 hours before the duel with Qin Xiaobai. This place was around 7,000 miles away from the Cloud Heaven City. He had to escape from the Temple of Blood within 3 to 4 hours. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.